sorry, goodness. I don't know what's going on. Give me a second. Something's going. Something. Resisting something. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna have to give me a second. I'm gonna be right back. My Wi-Fi is not missing, so we're still not getting what we need to get done. But prayerfully you guys can see and hear me all right. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. Just give me a second. Okay, hold on. Never mind. Be straight. It's here. The Wi-Fi ain't Wi-Fi for some reason. There we go. At some point, I promise, and absolutely. When I say we're getting it together, we mean we're actually going to get it together. But thank you for your patience, for those of you who are being patient. I dropped the ball. Yes, it is what it is. I'm not sure how the recording came out from last night. I hope that you guys, when it comes out, I hope you guys are able to see the message. Had a lot of different moving pieces and noise and stuff that was going on last night. I do apologize. But prayerfully we'll have that recording for you guys soon. I think we're just about ready. Praise God. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get everybody on. Any way that we need to. Thank you for your patience to God. Touchdown. Podcast. It's up. Facebook. Facebook is up. And that's about the best that we can do. Thank you guys who are on YouTube too. I apologize. I'm sorry. Having a moment. This rising, it is what it is. I guess I need to learn how to embrace the moment. Alright, praise God. We're continuing this series as we really get this started. In part 3 today. Let's go ahead. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in the Father's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer. And it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, protect, and protect today's message of mine. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste. Osai, Anikatubila, Ohio. I see you. Manut. Wagwan. Kamsamida. Aloha. Ciao. Mabarigani, Aquaba, Magahase, Etase, Jambo, Mimi Kofi, Ina Farah, Kukatani Nueva, Bokatao, Grand Rising, Bakwatakao, Kodakalaction Hava, Anai Kovai, Habitat Cemetery Christ, my Shalom. Hello, everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Cemetery Christ, but we are always changing lives one mind at a time. Being a voice of the voices and speaking unspoken. And apparently, I am always late. But it is what it is. Thank you all. We should love you. One of these moments where literally was in place and we're sitting here, just trying to get something signalized to work. Wi-Fi didn't want to work. Devices didn't want to pick up the Wi-Fi. Can't do it inside the hotel because it's not a spot to get a place of peace and quiet. Right? But what we were using yesterday, which is saving today, didn't want to work correctly. So it is what it is. But we thank you all for who are on. Thank you for those once again who reached out. You know who you are. Really the one who reached out, I responded to, but you gotta know who you are. And I was out here, I promise you. I wasn't even, it's anyways. We praise y'all. You know what? I'm sorry, I told you I probably have to go to the vehicle. Well, we give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor for my wife, Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. We're going to get ready to get, let's just go ahead. We don't really need to do too much in the way of announcements. Everything's everything. We thank everybody who was able to be part of the Brothers in Black event last night, in person or in private. And prayerfully, everybody who made it, everybody who was there virtually, had a great time. You can see the atmosphere was nice. A lot of brothers coming together. We were a little rowdy, but at the same time, everything was straight. The way that men come together was just chill mode. There was more celebration and exhortation and encouragement. So prayerfully the brothers got the encouragement that they needed. Prayerfully everybody who was there, male or female, older, younger, etc., were all able to hear and see something that they needed to get out of it. And we appreciate love you. So I'm going to join, so I'm going to come back and I'll say hello to everybody real quick and then we'll get into the message. But I'm going to go and make sure that I grab a few things out of or just one more thing really. I didn't bring a bottle opener, to be honest with you. And at this point, I would just say let's go. I'm running late, all this stuff that we already got, but I know I'm going to need to drink some water on a day like today. So if you don't mind, or I hope you don't mind, give me hopefully no more than about a minute at least to be back over here this way. And, or, you know what, let me see. I might be able to finesse it. Put something I got in my pocket. Some of y'all been trying to teach me, some of the brothers, they've been trying to teach me for a while. I had to open up a bottle with just a table. If I get the right angle on something, I know how to do it. Buddha was trying to show me how to open it up. Buddha Charlie was trying to show me how to open it up with a lighter. Just use literally the side of a lighter. I can't do it. I don't have the skill or whatever. But he did it like just nothing within seconds. So I can use, there we go. Alright, here we go. Praise God. But, okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let's say hello everybody real quick and then we'll jump in. Once again, thank you for hanging around. Sorry about our tardiness, my tardiness specifically. Prayerfully you guys enjoyed what we've been talking about. We're getting back into Enoch. We're going to go into Enoch chapter 41. Right? Enoch chapter 41. And if you want, please make sure you know that you have your Bibles handy as well, because we're going to go through the Bible as well. We're going to go through Apocrypha as well. We're going to go through the book of Joshua as well. You know, just different things, but we want to make sure that you have your stuff together. We're going to be coming through Enoch. We're going to start at chapter 41. So what you have to say amen, say God, it's with you. Praise God for all of you. We finished up chapter 40 yesterday. So we're going to go into chapter 41 today. Praise God. Amen. We're going to Enoch chapter 41. Anachim. Anachim. Nam. Alav, or Enoch chapter 41, verse 1. That's where we'll start today. Let's say hello to everybody. Thanks for joining us on the podcast, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We appreciate love you. We're thankful. We're grateful to you all and for you all for being on today. You said you can't hear me? I sound far away? Okay, do I sound far away to anybody besides just Minister Tracy? Do I sound far away? Mic check. Thank you for saying so. I didn't know that. Kind of sort of am. Maybe I'm not projected enough. Can you guys hear me on YouTube at all? Can you hear me on TikTok? No? Alright, that's all right. Okay. Can you hear me on YouTube, anybody? Yes, no, maybe so. Maybe I do something for you. Sounds distant? Okay, hold on. Oh, you know what? It might just be, I don't know how much I can fix it. I probably sound better now. Do I sound better now? If it is, it's the stand I'm using. Do I sound better now? On YouTube? Yes, no, maybe so? Or about the same? Yes, no, maybe so. YouTube? Do I sound about the same? Time back? Okay. So, it could be the proximity. So, alright. Sorry, y'all. We're figuring this out. We're going to start, I promise you. We're going to go to Enoch chapter 41. I think it's the height of what I'm using. So I'm gonna bring it up. And maybe bring it up like right next to my face. That way, even if the stand that I'm using right now, you see it's got these two things that goes where the speakers go. And if I'm not careful, or if I can't help it, sometimes I have to use this thing. I'm trying to make it up to my face. Put you guys up this tall. And then that way, even if they're blocks, because I can't recall which side is the one that's the microphone side. I think it's this side, but either way, I'll try to make sure that I am, if you guys are up in my face, then it shouldn't be a problem. Let's see what we can do here. Let us see what we can do here. We're going to have to get my other mug up in the face. But if my local, okay with that, then we'll go ahead and do it like this. We'll see if this works better. It projects better as well. So we shouldn't have any problem with it either way. Alright. So, alright, prayerfully that works. That's about the best I can do. I try to make sure I don't knock y'all over with my leg. Alrighty. Okay. Once again, we're going to the book of Enoch, chapter 41. I do apologize if there's any sound issues, whatever the case might be. Sorry. Today's the start for today has not been the greatest. But prayerfully, I'll be able to see and hear you all, or we'll see you guys from any perspective that you are, and hopefully everybody can hear us. All right. Okay. So this is about the best we're gonna be able to do. Keep us in prayer. Hopefully, this message will get across to you. Now, wherever you are, hopefully you guys can hear us on YouTube a little better, even if it still kind of sounds muffled. Hopefully, it's louder. All right. Let's go. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in the Father's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste, osanya nikatuya, Ohio, I see you. Manut, Guan. I already said all that stuff. Kamsa, etc. Shabbat Shalom, or belated Shabbat Shalom, Shan Shalom, all that great stuff. All right. Amen. So let's go ahead and say our Bible pledge. Enoch chapter 41. Enoch chapter 41. It goes as follows. Enoch chapter 41, it states as follows. Praise God. Once again, Enoch chapter 41 is where we're going to start. Say our Bible pledge first. I'm sorry. Bible pledge goes as follows. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For the Heshbon's Lord, no sword of God shall ever be heard, for this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Amen, which is in the Father's name, His authority. Amen. All right. So, and thank you, everybody. I'm going to try my best to catch names and comments and all that stuff. As you can see, I'm still changing up the setup and all that stuff. So, I'll do my best to try and be as loud as possible and to make sure that you guys can hear the word. But let's say hello, everybody. How you doing? Minister Stephen, Minister Tracy. How you doing, Brother Dwayne? How you doing? I don't know what is, but thank you for being on. Prayerfully you're doing well. How you doing, Cole? How you doing, King D252? How you doing, Sister Nadine, Sister Carla? Asika, Tia, Yach is my guide, Greta, planting seeds. Everybody, appreciate love y'all. How you doing, Carla? How you doing, Sister Mavis, Credo, Mom, SJ, Jose, Michelle, Children of the Most High, everybody, come on in. Come on in, hey, this is Monica. We're getting ready to go to Enoch chapter 41 and read together. Amen. Chantel, everybody. Sister Nadine, Sister Crystal, Sister Sherry, Darius. If I miss your name, once again, charge to my head, not to my heart. Appreciate love y'all. Thank you for being on with us, trying to get us started. It's taking a lot today to get started. Alrighty. Alrighty. Alright, well, I'm not sure. Inferno, Ian, Brother Thomas, Winkle 77, Victoria, Stand Still, everybody. If I miss you, please hear it to my head. I know I'm missing some persons on here. Just know that we appreciate you, and I will do my best. It's going to be a little difficult to see you guys today, but we'll go ahead and make this work. Let's go to Enoch chapter 41. We'll just go ahead and get started. So, Enoch chapter 41, verse 1, by the way, you may be seated in the presence of God. We're not going to do the scripture reading. We're going to go line upon line, precept upon precept during the series. This is part 3, so we started this on Friday based off of Thursday's Q&A. And we're going to go Enoch chapter 40. So we're going to do, we started Enoch chapter 4, Enoch chapter 37. And we're going to end up going through verse 76. We'll see what Holy Spirit would like us to do after that. And we're going to go at least through verse 76. So we're on verse 41 now. So you can see we're going to take our time with this. There might be some days when we go through like 5 chapters. There might be some days we only hit 1 verse. But there's a lot of nutrition in these scriptures, in these verses. And so we're going to make sure that we get as much out of them as is possible. All right, so going to Enoch chapter 41, verse 1, it says, "And after that I saw all the secrets of the mysteries, right, of heaven, right, and how the kingdom is divided, and how the actions of men are weighed in the balance." Right? Now this is an interesting statement because we don't want division in the kingdom, but listen to what he says again. It says, how the kingdom is divided, and how the actions of men are weighed in the balance. Right? How the actions of men are weighed in the balance. Right? What are we talking about here? How you doing, Peter Charlie? And I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it. So it all depends on you. All right, thanks for being on. Right. So he says, I saw that things were weighed, and now they were weighed in the balance. Right, weighed in the balance. So when you put something and you're weighing it, you're balancing it, right? We're talking about something that is compensatory, right? If somebody wants to trade with you, there are certain things like somebody might say, I want my weight in gold. So somebody could literally put you on a big scale and put gold in the scale, and you can see what's what. If somebody says, I want to get this, and somebody says, well, it costs this much in salt, and somebody might literally weigh. So weighing something is not just something that we're only dealing with as far as nowadays. We only think about it with health concerns, with how big somebody is, or how much muscles you want to pack on, etc. Right? But weight is something that has to do with law. It has to do with balance. It has to do with, if you do something, you might have to give up this much in weight. Right? Even glory is talking about weight, heaviness. Right? So the actions of men are weighed in the balance. And there I saw the mansions of the elect and the mansions of the holy. And my eyes saw there all the sinners being driven from thence, which deny the name of Elohim Aravak, or the Lord of Spirits, the authority of. Right? How you doing, Coach? Right? So here we have that there's literally a group. There's literally a group in here, right? And it's divided. So he's talking about, once again, let us that have an ear to hear. Let those who have questions, have questions as well. Right? But we're seeing here very clearly, if we're going to be honest, if we're going to have honest dialogue, and if we're going to let this be what it is, rather than try to manipulate it and turn it into something that we want, which is what persons ultimately will usually do. We have here very clearly stated, we have here that we have heaven, and Enoch has seen a division, right? Even in the kingdom of heaven. Even in the kingdom of heaven, right? It has to be scrubbed, right? Even in the kingdom, there has to be persons who are going to be divided. Even around us, there are persons who are going to say that they are in the truth, and we're going to find out they are not, right? Very clearly, the scripture is not messing around with certain things. It's telling us very specifically, very strategically, that we're going to see a separating. Kind of like Matthew chapter 13 that we talked about before, where it was seeds and all that, and there were things that were sown as far as seeds, and some of the seeds were sown after the fact, like we talked about the wheat and the tare, right? So, and then what, you let them all grow together and mature, and it will be the angels who are the reapers. These reapers will be given permission by the Most High Yah to come through and clear everybody out, right? To ensure that we see who's actually wheat, who's actually tare, who's actually kingdom, who's actually not. Well, Enoch says that he's taken to this high place, or he's taken to heaven. We've already seen this before already. He said that he had been taken up in a whirlwind, and he saw like things that were going on in heaven, and he saw the 4 so-called archangels, like we talked about yesterday, and what they mean, and their value and all that, and what they were supposed to do, and how you can see the 4 presences, the east, the west, the north, the south, right? He's seen how the angels that don't sleep, meaning that there are messengers and angels that are in the earth realm, and there are messengers or angels that are in heaven, but then there's even the archangels who are different than the ones that do not sleep. We're seeing these different things happen, right? How you doing, Dr. T? And we're seeing all these things happen. So he says here that he saw, when he was brought up to heaven as well, he saw the mansions for those that are what? Verse 2 said that they look for what the actions of men are, their works. And when he saw their works, he saw that what was weighed in the balance. Were their works worthy, heavy enough to receive the glory? You see, we're talking about the compensatory weighing, right? Glory means weight, heaviness, imprint even. And now we're looking at those who are trying to get into heaven or trying to remain in the kingdom. And we have to see their actions, and they must be weighed. You see the seriousness of this? This is why they tell us not to read Enoch or different things such as Enoch, because if you read these things, you have to come to an honest dialogue and say, yo, they talk a whole lot about actions, right? The Bible talks a lot about law. We keep seeing it, right? So, yeah, so have faith, but what you have faith in, you must see some kind of actions. Your actions must be weighed to see if you are in the balance. When somebody says you're balanced, a lot of persons don't get this. Balance is not saying that I'm just as, I have just as much bad as I have like what's great, right? When somebody says I'm balanced, and that's why I don't even like to use the term balance. Some of you know I don't even really use that term that much. How you doing, Brother Richard, right? But in all this different stuff, balance is not, balance doesn't mean I'm being weighed, right? Or I'm sorry, balance doesn't mean that I'm just as bad as I am righteous. Right? If somebody says I'm balanced, I try to be balanced. But what are you trying to be balanced in? Because see, balance is basically saying I would like to get something, and so in order to get it, I need to be able to put something on the scale that's worthy of what I'm about to get. I have to give as much as I get, right? Or I have to give something of value. I have to offer up something or sacrifice something so that I can get what's on the other side. It's a transaction. Right? So if you have some cat talking about I want to be balanced, then balance is not talking about, oh, you're nice with it on Tuesday and then you're terrible with it on Wednesday, and you hit your spouse on Thursday and then you're nice to your spouse on Friday. That's foolishness. You don't have as much, or you shouldn't have as much evil in you as righteousness. And many persons who kind of think like that or have this worldly thinking are the ones who can try to entertain or vote for this person or for that person, et cetera, et cetera. Right, we're talking about bartering, exactly. Right, like Yehoshua balanced things because your sin was heavy, right? But his life and his blood, right, was just as heavy, right? And so there's a balance. The balance has been paid for sin because the wages of sin was death, weighing down heavy on you, right? But the gift of God, let me put this on here, is eternal life. You see that? So when we talk about balance in kingdom or balance in our perspective, balance is something that's compensatory even to a certain degree. Balance is something that allows us to be able to get something, right, as much as what we give. Give, right, put something on the scale, or what's on the scale when it's balanced out, it shall be given unto thee. Out of comes what? Measure, balancing out, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give it to your bosom. He's going to use men to put it on the scale. But with the same measure that you meet for what's acceptable, for what's being asked, or for what you guys put in the contract or covenant together, and said this is what we're paid, we bartered this for this. the same shall be given unto thee. What I have for you on this side, I'm ready to give, if you give what you're supposed to give on your side. Right? That's how balance was. Yeah, balance is not about weight, it's about holiness. For people to just use balance. People don't understand how y'all use the word balance so we can adopt the principles, right? Yeah, so when we're talking about the glory, even once again, remember the glory is the heaviness even, or the weight, or the imprint. It leaves an imprint on you, right? So if you're going to receive his glory, right, then you got to put something, you got to give glory. This is how persons saying, we give y'all all the glory. Yes, that contextually, when somebody's saying that we're giving you everything we got. Why? Because then your glory shall fall upon us. So our weight and our heaviness, and once again, it's Elohim's measure, pressed down, shaken together. We give our measure. Do the best you can. Give all that you can. Give your best. Give your first fruits. Give your 10%. Give your tribute. Give your double portion. Give your highest praise. Right? It will never be as great as he is. Right? You can never out-preach your Hashivah. But if your gift is preaching, give your best preaching and watch the Hashivah's words start to leap off the page in a manner that you never could have even seen, asked, or thought of, right? It's above your expectation, right? Why? Because even in all the stuff that you're giving, you're not on the same level as he is. So give your best if you want to give his best. I say this all the time. If you're ever blessed to be able to go in front of any chieftain, king, queen, monarch, emperor, president, even to a certain degree, etc. What you're supposed, president, not really, president's a false king, but whatever. You're supposed to bring a gift. If you're ever blessed to be able to go learn how they either bow or curtsy, or what you're supposed to do when you come into the court, how to show respect, and the next up on the list is make sure what? Next up on the list is make sure that as we show respect and as we bow down, as all those things that happen, the next thing on the list is to do what? Next thing on the list is give them a gift. Right? And you give your best gift. Why do you give your best gift? You give your best gift because if the monarch cannot outgive you, they're not a monarch. If the emperor cannot give more than you can give, they're not the emperor. So you give your best. Right? With the expectation that whatever you give, the monarch must give more than what you give him. So when you come to Yehovah, right, you give your best, right? He's going to always outgive you, but you're not looking for outgiving, you're looking for percentage. If I give 10, he's going to give 10. If I give 20, he's going to give 20. If I give 50, he's going to give 50. And his 50 is better than my 50. If I give 100, he's going to give 100. See, some of you don't comprehend even in your marriage. Be careful. In your marriage, there's going to be days when you got better days than your spouse. There's going to be days when your spouse can't handle yourself. There's going to be days when your spouse is stuck in anxiety. There's going to be days when your spouse is injured. There might be months to where your spouse can't bring any income in, right? And so wherever you are, even if you laid up in a hospital bed, you give your best. Because as you give your best, guess what your spouse is supposed to do then? They cover you when they can give your best, even if it's different. We're not talking weight for weight the way you think you are, as far as it's got to be exactly the same. We're talking about Yah's going to put his weight or his 50 on the scale if you put your 50 on the scale. If you want his 100, then give him 100. If you want his 10, then give him 10. If you want his 0, then don't put nothing on there. It'll still be balanced. You see what I'm saying? How you doing, Brother Jamal? Right? It'll still be balanced on there. Even if you give 0, he's only required to give you 0 back, even though he never technically does. How you doing, Sister Tamara? Even though he never technically does, because how can he give you 0? Right? How does Yehovah give you 0? Right? And at the same time, it reigns of the just and the unjust alike. How you doing, babe? My wife is doing the Honorable Honor. As always, check her out on TikTok, YouTube, and website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist, by degree. How you doing, Shoe Queen? How you doing, Brother Lamar? Right? So he never really gives 0 because he made what it is that you are. All the ingredients that make your body, they came from his shelf. So you're always in a position to where you're chasing after him, and praise Yah that we are. Right? That being said, I want you to get this balance. So when persons say balance, when we talk about balance, that's why I'm very, very, very rarely would you hear me say I'm balanced or to try and be balanced or any of these things. How you doing, for you guys? Hope I'm saying that close. Muhammad, excuse me. How are you doing? So when you see those different things, you have to realize that like persons will be talking about being balanced, but the term balance is talking about something, a legal transaction. If we got a scale and I want something, right? Let's say we got a scale and salt was extremely valuable at one point, right? So let's go back to the point where salt is extremely valuable. We put out our scale and you have salt on the scale, right? There's gold on one end. And if I want to be able to get the gold, I have to give you the gold's weight in salt. I have to put enough salt on there so that there's as much weight in salt as there is in gold. Now somebody says, wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't give up gold for salt. But back then, salt was extremely valuable, right? In the time and the situation and the season that you're in, what you have is extremely valuable. You are the salt of the earth. And there's a lot of persons that say you're not worth gold. But no, Yah's saying that I need you to put that salt, that flavor, right, and use it in its season. There's going to be a time when people will not give you, they'll say, I'm not taking as much salt for gold. I could buy a lot of salt for the weight of gold that I'm carrying, and it not be the same, right? But there's a time, there's a season. What use is the salt if it loses its savor? So there's a transaction that needs to take place, and you need to recognize that the vision, that the gold that you're going to walk upon in heaven and all those things, we're in the time now, we're in the season where you better start putting yourself out there and putting enough stuff on there and making sure that the thing that you're looking for, the gold, right, or the thing that's pure gold, or the treasure, right, it's not made by man's hands, by human hands. Make sure that you have yourself in a position where you're putting enough out there and you're putting enough of your gift and you're putting something in the works are compensatory. They're worthy of it. As we said earlier, right, it says here, once again, we're in Enoch chapter 41, and after that, I saw all the secrets of the heavens and how the kingdom is divided and how the actions of men are weighed in the balance. Your actions are weighed in the balance. Let me see something. It says I was blocked. I feel blocked. Let's see. No notifications. That's weird. It says I was blocked. Was it a fake me? If somebody that'd be wild. If somebody, one of these fake Kofis actually had the audacity to come in here, that's crazy. But anyways, right? Like, do you hear what I'm saying? Your actions, your works will be weighed in the balance, just like Revelation chapter 20, verse 12. They were. Oh, wow. Okay, that's crazy. Right? Their actions what? The actions of men are weighed in the balance. Their actions are what? They're weighed in the balance. Okay. And there I saw the mansions of the elect, the mansions of the holy. Okay, what are the mansions? We know what a mansion is, right? If somebody has a mansion, what is a mansion by definition? It's not a big house. What is a mansion? A mansion is what? In our culturally speaking, right? Let's bring it back to culture. And shalom to everybody who's joining us. Thank you for joining us in the podcast, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification tab, share it with others. Be part of our community. Look for our link tree information on our platforms, and feel free to go ahead and fill out SOC updates. I did recently go through and make sure that the last few names that were added to our that we were given, who filled out the forms, I did make sure I added you guys to different things and Google Calendar invite information. So you guys should be getting stuff from now on. Also, too, I will be making my rounds this week once we still got to finish our road trip, and get back over to the East Coast. But we will be making sure that we check in with you all and text you guys and call you guys and make sure we hook you up ministerial staff in your area as well. Right. Also, too, those who are in North Carolina, those of you who have Sister Deja's information, especially sisters, please feel free to reach out to our sister and show love if you can. That would be very great and awesome if you could do that. Those of you who have her information, even if you just have her information on TikTok, we've been praying for her for a while. Prayers were answered as far as safe delivery, but her and her family are not out of the woods yet, so to speak. And so just check in on her, with her and the baby and stuff, and pray for her I know that there's a lot of stuff I could say, or brothers could say, but there's some stuff she probably needs some love from some sisters to make sure that she's hearing from y'all and knowing that she's loved. Just want to put that out there. Yeah. So, and she's in North Carolina, I believe. I know she's in the North Carolina group. I'm pretty sure baby and her, I think when everything happened, they were rushed to the hospital, or not rushed to the hospital, but ended up in the hospital in North Carolina, near where they are. So just check in with her. Amen. I'll leave that there for now. We'll probably have some kind of meetup where we discuss a few things, and I'll definitely run some things by your ministerial staff here. Just know that, just keep her in prayer and keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Amen. Yeah, if you don't have any information, if you would like it, I can try to send it if you want to text me or something like that, and I can try to send it to you after the fact. Just saying, if nothing else, bare minimum, keep your prayers up. And if Sister Deja, if you're on and you see this somewhere later on, know that we're thinking about you and praying for you, and that we're here to give you whatever we have, such as we have been given to do. So let's see. I can't give them information out publicly. So if you would like me to send it, or if you'd like to go to, I think Minister Yasab, or probably Minister Elisha probably has it, but feel free to, if you need the information later, let me know. It is my family day today, so I'm not sure how fast I respond, but still, feel free to let me know. I promise I'll give it to you. All right, so back to Enoch. I'm talking about being balanced. Balance, something that we have to, whatever we want, we have to give something up to get it. Right? That's how balance works. That's how trade works. That's how commerce works. Bartering works. Right? I see, right? If I go to I always call it the, I guess y'all call it the flea market too, right? I always call it the swap meet. Right? That's just how I know it, and I can't get that out of my head. Right? Same thing as some of y'all do the goodwill, but the swap meet, to me, a little different. Swap meet is when you see somebody outside, or you see a whole bunch of cats outside, right? And as far as the eye can see, you just see a whole bunch of cats outside selling stuff, right? Whether they have to pay $20 for a lot or something like that, but you see everybody outside and everybody's trading and stuff and giving things of their ownership, or things that they make by their hand or whatever, right? But whatever we call it, the flea market, the swap meet, the goodwill, whatever it is. When you see places like that, right? For me, I think the swap meet, as far as the outside piece of the flea market or whatever, but right, or the farmers markets, even stuff like that. But you have to give something in order to get something, right? And what you give has to be the value. See, the person who grows the fruit for the farmers market and brings it there, right? They grow fruit, and so they eat, right? If they have tomatoes, right? If they grow tomatoes and they have enough where they can sell them every week, right? Or probably not every week, but they can sell them whenever they come into season. If they have tomatoes, well then you already know that the tomatoes, they have enough of them. They're not concerned about tomatoes. So the tomatoes, although they have extreme value, they have an overflow, right? And sometimes in the overflow in our culture, yes, of course, you make sure that the overflow that some persons who can't afford, or even just to bless somebody else, you just give some out, right, for free. That's a sacrifice on your end. But then there are some that you sell. And you sell these because they're just as valuable to others as they are to you, right? And so the workman being worked to hire, the person who put the work in, they're able to get something, right? Somebody was even asking the other day, I think it might have been Sister Kofi, but we had somebody talking the other day about, or asking the question, is it all right, or should we call something a sacrifice if there's a reward attached? And yes, right? There is a reward. Matter of fact, the reward is what we're after, right? Like, this is gonna sound, I hope this doesn't sound, I hope y'all get the context of this, right? Because I'm not only doing this for fame or for money or just to get to heaven, but I'm gonna be honest with you, a big part of what I do is because I'm trying to go to heaven, right? You dig what I'm saying? Like, a big part of what I do is because I know there's a reward on the other side. Right? It's not the only thing, but there's times where I'm like, I don't want to really do this. And then I think about it, and that's not just only, sometimes it's my love for the Father, sometimes it's my love for the Son, sometimes it's my love for Ravach, sometimes it's my love for my wife, sometimes it's my love for, sometimes though, I'm like, if I do this with is this going to send me ultimately? Is this going to cause something that's going to cause me to start going the wrong path and ultimately end up in Sha'al, and I open my eyes up and I'm burning? That's sometimes it's on my mind, if I be honest. And so, since I've never been in hell, never been through hell, and I don't have access to hell, we've talked about that before, I just say to myself, you know what? Maybe the streets paved with gold is not a bad idea. Hey, how you doing, Sister Sonia? You know, maybe, right? The gold being so clear and so strong simultaneously, but so clear and so valuable that I can see through the gold. Maybe being able to see the pearly gates, you know, is not a bad thing. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are times where I think about the rewards. There are times that I give, and sometimes when I'm saying to myself, this is my last, this just happened recently, praise God. I'm giving my last, so I think. That's how my mind works. Somebody needs something. SOC doesn't really got it. I can't really raise it. Family can't help me. Their friends can't help me. I'm talking to everybody. And I'm like, we short. Well, I could try and give you this. I could try and give you this. Right? I'd love to give this to you. But man, we're going to fall short. I'm sorry, we short this much money. Is that okay? And the person sometimes is like, shoot, hey. And they might they'll still be humble. Right? But then I can tell by their response, it's not going to cut it. So I sit there and I look at what I think is my last. And I'm like, yeah. If I don't have that, and I'll have a human moment. What if I can't pay this? I got this bill coming up. I'm already behind. I'm already trying to catch up with this and whatever. I'm already dealing with blah, blah. I'm already, I still got to make sure my family makes it across here, right? I barely had the gas money, blah, blah. And then finally, I just say, you know what, this is my last, right? And I'll give it, and then I have faith. What do you think I have faith in? My works are working in the faith. So when I say, well, I got faith, what do you think I'm saying I have faith in? I have faith that Yah will reward my faithfulness with his provision. You see what I'm saying? Right? And this happens quite often in my life. It happens quite often in my life, because then when I get the reward, then Yah is testing me again. You're going to give it that first. Right? When we go do that again, then you're still dealing with the same thing. I'm still doing Y'all testing. You're going to give it the first this time? All right? Now that I gave you some more, are you going to give to the community still? Right? You see what I'm saying? That's right. And that in Yah's provision that he gives you is what? It's a reward. That's why the Bible didn't say it. The Bible didn't say diligently seek him. Yes, it does, right? But what does it say? Diligently seek him, sure. Why? What is the rest of the scripture? Be holy with it, holistic with it. What's some more stuff it says? It says, because he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. It's part of what he put out there. He said, yo, if you're my child, I ain't gonna Minister Shante, then expect the reward as my child would get. I reward those who diligently seek me. He did that to sweeten the pot, right? He said that. He said, look, you might not think about this. You might think only this, that, whatever. How you doing, D? That's right. My cup runs over. Right? He said, you might not even want to do this, blah, blah. He said, let me put this in the back of your mind. Let me put this in your heart, too. Let me plant this seed that when I tell you to do something, when I tell you, you want this on this side of the way and of the balance. So go ahead on the other side and put something that weighs out to where you're worthy of what it is that you want. And if you want it, I'm putting the carrot out before the horse. I'm putting the apple out before the horse. I'm putting the gold out before the person who's the salt of the earth. Keep putting your salt out there on the balance. Why? Because I reward you when you diligently seek me. Right? When you train your child up, do you not want to train your child up to get rewards? Right? And recognize what a righteous reward is versus an unrighteous reward. And so when they are young, what do? You give them rewards. You reward your child. If you don't do that, by the way, then, hey, I don't know what we're doing out here, but your child might act a little better if they got a reward here or there. Something that says that if I do what you say I'm supposed to do, then I get rewarded. One of the things that's hard in our community is that we have a tough time in our community, loving on our community, and growing our community sometimes even, because there's not a reward for being diligent. This is why we got to come together as a nation and start to make sure that we have our own rewards. They're still looking for rewards from a government that has never given them a reward. But when they look at their church, when they look at their camp, when they look at that something that says their belief system, they realize real quick that they don't get rewards, right? So he's a rewarder of those. What is the reward for that person who's going to make sure that their marriage is solid? What is the rewarder of that person who says, I will be married the way that the Hubble says be married? What is the reward for somebody who says we don't date? What is the reward for the sister who's part of this community? Does she feel protected? What is the reward for the brother who's going to protect in this community? Does he have a safe place? What is the reward for those who diligently seek? Right? The Hubble said, if you're going to make this thing work, there has to be a reward. Right? Sometimes for many, look, sometimes, and it's not always coming financially. Let me be careful because I know that's going to be the focus. And it seems like that's probably my focus. Right? I'm not just talking about if I worship Yah, I'm going to have $500. I might give my last $500 and Yah doesn't give me $500. He might give me, he might give me 5 acres. Because I gave 500 to the right person. It's like those shows that you see, like you might be entertaining angels unaware, right? Like you see those television shows, I forget what they're called, but like where your boss basically, or the person who owns the company pretends to be somebody, and they get dressed up in a fake outfit and all that stuff. They go through all this stuff, and somebody be wilding and doing something crazy, and there's always somebody though who's like really diligent and going past something, and they hear his story, and they see how much this person's working, and they're like, man, I didn't, and they see him, and the person doesn't even know they're being seen, and they don't know that the person who's over the company has shown up just to see how they'll treat them, and now that they see that they'll treat them and treat others with respect, they'll test them even. They'll even try to be mean to a customer, and they'll tell the person, and the person fights for the undercover boss. Thank you. Right? And they'll fight for the customer and stuff like that until the person like, the customer's always right. And yes, I know we're a team, but we have to make sure that we do things in a righteous manner, and they get a reward. There should be a reward for those that diligently seek. How you doing, Brother Keith? There should be a reward. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but see, watch this. Even if you want to say, well, Yah is enough for me, that's your reward. Right? I know you don't like that, but that's your reward. And by the way, what is a ward? What is literally a ward? When you are awarded something, what is a ward? What is ward? W-A-R-D-D. It is an area that's supposed to be governed. Right? It could be a person that's supposed to be governed. It's supposed to be somebody under some kind of protection. So we have to reward. If somebody's going to do something to get in the kingdom, for you to come into the Most High, it's still a reward. We're taking the reward from one place and putting them over here. Coming from God's faith. Praise God. All right. So he says in Enoch chapter 41, in verse 2, and there I saw the mansions of the elect and the mansions of the holy. Remember, the mansion is an Adam. And we talked about this yesterday, I believe. In order for you to be elected, even if you want to go in the voting, because our elect is the king, has elected us, right? But in election, no matter if you're talking about a kingdom or your so-called democracy, which isn't constitutional, or your voting rights, an election or somebody who is elected, the elect has to be worthy of being elect. In other words, the elect must at least be qualified concerning the law. What I mean by qualified concerning the law, I'm not even saying they have to spit law out like that. I'm saying they have to be qualified concerning the law, meaning that you can't run for the president of the United States and you're not at least 35 years of age. You can't run for the president of the United States and not be born in the United States of America. You cannot, right? You can try all you want, but you won't be able to become what? Elect, because lawfully there's nothing that qualifies you. You're not qualified concerning the law, right? So it's very interesting. It's like when we talk about somebody who says that they are ordained, but you can't be ordained, you cannot perform an ordinance unless it is allowed by the state or the country or the government that you are in, right? I no longer claim being ordained underneath Washington, D.C., right? I am, but I don't even worry about it. I don't use it. because everything I'm going to be doing is going to be done in private. So if somebody says you're ordained, right, which we've licensed, we actually ordained one, right, and we'll be ordaining some very soon, actually, right. They'll know, right. Everybody put in. We're always looking at stuff, and I'm always waiting for y'all to say ordain and ordinance and stuff, and let somebody go to another level and stuff. But we'll let God do what He does, right? And everybody be on their timeline, and we'll all celebrate when the person gets ordained and licensed, whatever. But that being said, right, they don't know who they are yet. So we'll leave it there. Praise God. But when somebody gets ordained, it means that you're under a law, or you're under a state, you're under a government. So when you get ordained by servants of Christ, for example, right, you're able, and when you've been licensed, there's certain things you're licensed. When you're ordained, when servants of Christ is saying it's concerning our government, that's when you start making it to a whole other level, right? If churches really comprehended this, you would go away from 501c3 because you would have true autonomy. If somebody gets ordained through us, what I'm saying and what we are saying and what Yahweh is saying, what Hakadosh is saying is, right, and what the government has to support is that through this religious organization, which we're working towards even becoming one, just for this reason, right? Anybody who's ordained, that is a private matter, and still is, even though that'll be a religious organization for it, but it's a private matter. That means that the government, who you're governed by, is who you get your authority by. So whatever contract, so let's say an ordinance is marriage, which it is. If somebody's ordained, they can go ahead and marry somebody, right? You can be licensed to do it as well, but it really means that the person who licensed you must be ordained, right, by the state or the government department. But let's say SOC family, SOC community, right? We ordained so-and-so. Right? Elder Alma and myself are ordained, right? Outside of that, now there's other ordained persons that are part of what we're doing, but we're talking about ordained under SOC in the private sector, right? If somebody's ordained, what we're saying is that we have seen that they follow the law concerning what the word of Yah says, right, with proper interpretation, right? And therefore, if they go out and do anything, we fully support what they do as long as they continue to do what they did to get ordained, right? That's what, right, because they follow the ordinances, because they follow the law. Now, that means, though, that they can't just go and marry anybody. They would have to only do private contracts, unless they get ordained by somebody else, too. If they got ordained by the state of New York, then they can do marriages in New York, and wherever New York allows them to do marriages, or whatever state would allow New York to, somebody of New York to be validated and qualified. But usually it's your state, that's where you marry persons, and that's it, right? So if you show up somewhere else and you try to marry them, in Texas, guess what? By law, you can't marry, as far as I know. I could be wrong on this, I'm just picking around things at random as an example. Let's say you cannot, for the sake of this thought process going, let's say Texas does not allow persons of New York to marry you and become official. So you can come down to New York, but you better tell them, hey, it's going to have to be a private marriage, or hey, right, if this is public, if the government's going to be doing, if you're going to go to the government and say, change my stuff over, then the government's going to say we can't do it because the person is not from Texas. Texas does not allow somebody from New York to come in to our place. So, right, especially if you're talking about public, if you want to get things from the public, if you want to get things from the government. So if we sign a private contract, we're saying that there's some things that should be taken care of privately. We're going to have a private contract together. We're going to have certain things you can fill out. We're going to say what the ins and outs are. We'll probably even do we should have a bunch of stuff talking about marriage beforehand to make sure that you comprehend what you're getting into. But we're dealing with what? We're trying to make sure that you comprehend what it is outside of the state and what we're talking about as far as what's governed. So if that person is ordained by us, they can't go and say, well, wherever I want to marry persons, I can marry them, or however I want to marry them, I can marry them, because you can only marry under the ordinance, right? Under the privacy of SOC, because SOC is never going to try to be recognized in a manner. I mean, we can be protected by the public, but we cannot be. But we're not going to try and be authorized to do what we do by the public, right? In other words, we'll be protected by the government wherever we go, because we are lawful. And since we are lawful, we'll always have to be protected. That being said, though, we're not asking the government to watch over our marriage, over your union, over your even sexual activities and the fruit that comes out of it. We don't want your children to be a burden to the state or a ward of the state. We want them to be rewarded within the kingdom, within privacy, right? So there are things, even if you have your identification, even when we say go get your passport, somebody says, well, why do I get my passport? You get your passport because the way we have you fill out your passport, you're never going to, you're only going to be traveling. And you're going to be traveling as a private sovereign who is able to make sure that they are protected by the United States of America, who says that they're supposed to follow the law. If they follow the law, anybody who is lawful must be protected. Right? I say all that because it's important that we get an ordinance, what's ordained. Right? If we catch that, then we must recognize also then too, watch this once again, back to Enoch chapter 4. We're taking our time today. Enoch 4 verse 2. And there I saw the mansions of the elect. If you are the elect, you cannot be the elect and you don't follow ordinances. Because if you're elected, you have to be elect to a particular state or country or sovereignty or kingdom, right? Right? So if you're going to be elect by them, then you have to be up by it. That's why we said once again we're going to have to catch up over some time, and especially before a person can come and live on the land with as much regularity as some of you would like to. We're going to have to make sure that we have certain things that even if we're not writing them out, we have the Bible verses in place. Where persons have to touch and agree, sign off on certain things, and we're going to have to be very clear and consistent in going through with like a fine-tooth comb over and over again these different items to make sure this stuff is getting correct. Why? Why do we have to do that? We're going to have to be able to do those things. Why? Because if somebody's going to be on the land, then everybody there is going to be lawful, not necessarily legal. But if it's lawful, it doesn't matter if it's legal, right? The difference between lawful and legal, right? And we want to make sure that everybody's covered. And there's certain things that don't need to be in the hands of the state, and the state doesn't even necessarily want. Matter of fact, the state would like the beast would love to control everything. But I told you this before. Teddy Roosevelt, one of the persons who can't stand us, offed a bunch of Native Americans. Matter of fact, he has a quote somewhere along the lines of, "Hey, if there were 10 Native Americans and 9 out of them were offed, I'd turn my back if somebody wanted to try and take care of the one that was left." Right? That's the Teddy Roosevelt is supposed to be the history, the hero of this nation. Right? That's the hero of this nation. You know, that's what they think of you. Excuse me. That's what they think of us, right? But Teddy Roosevelt, he did tell the truth. He said, and I'm not quoting exactly, but he basically said, hey, when it comes to the public versus the private, when it comes to the government, he was like, for real, the government is not supposed to have anything to do with you. He was like, but here's the bad part that y'all don't want to hear. And he was telling the truth. He still want to control you, but he's telling the truth. He said, look, the government, really, the beast, should have nothing to do with you, ever, in life. He said, but let me keep it a buck with you. Here's the problem. He said, even though the beast should never have anything to do with you, simultaneously, many of you, if you were left to your own vices and devices, you wouldn't do what you were supposed to do lawfully. You couldn't be trusted. And so since we can't trust you all to just simply follow the law, he said we must have somebody to police you. And he ain't lying. Because this is when we get to a place where people say stuff like, you know, are you trying to have, what is it that they call utopia? You know, is everybody, we can't have a utopia. You can't have a true utopia because you have to trust everybody. And we can't with this flesh, with this corruptible flesh that we have. In the encyclopedia, it says legal is the undoing of the law of Allah. Okay. How you doing, Brother TJ? How you doing, Prince? Said can't have felonies. Okay. Right. Ward equals protection. Right. Thank you. I missed that over there too. Right? How you doing, Brother Jermaine? So when we say these things, we're trying to get you to see, like, if we could govern, the Bible even says this, if we would judge ourselves, if we would use the word of Yah to be our judge, if we would judge ourselves, the word is Yahushua, right? How you doing, Vince? If we would use the word to judge ourselves, we would not be judged. If you can be private and do what Yah says privately, then you never have to worry about the police. Somebody says, no, they come looking for us anyway. No. But we have our land together, that we redo these fences, or we make sure that nobody can come on what we consider what we're building. Who can stop you? Who will stop? Right? If nobody's allowed to come in, if you have your Second Amendment right. I was talking with some of the brothers and sisters last night about this at the meetup, right? For Brothers in Black. That we had fun. Thank everybody who attended in person and attended online, right? I was saying last night, like, hey, all you gotta really do, like, if we have this together, if somebody try to come in and they looking for you, right? We're not even gonna put your name down, your birth certificate name down, because that's not your name when you come through. If they come through the gate, this is what happens. You know, if you come through the gate and you say, "Hey, I'm looking for so and so," they would say, we would say, "Who is that?" And if they try, we're not lying, we're not bending, stretching anything. We're telling the truth. Amen. Like the Amish kind of do, same kind of thing, right? So like so watch this. If they were to come in and they're looking for you, let's say your name is Betty Smith, I don't know, and they try coming looking for you, and they say, "Do you know Betty Smith?" We don't know her as Betty Smith. We don't know that name. We don't know that authority. We're not intimate with that authority because that's what a name is. So no, we don't have a Betty Smith. Well, we want to come and look for her. Look for her what? Do you have do you have permission? Right, because that's what it is basically. Do you have permission for the judge who is allowed to talk on our privacy as sovereign? Right? You don't have the right just because you're a police officer, and we have the right. Now somebody then goes, "Well, they tried to come for y'all and blah blah." Yeah, that's why we have to make sure we build a nation. Tulsa wasn't trying to be a nation unto itself, even though it was so well done that the money still wouldn't leave 50 to 60 times before it went outside. You know, the dollar that was spent would stay inside. But Tulsa, they weren't trying to be a nation. Right? Now the Amish, they're a nation. Like, you can come in, you can visit, you can barter, you can trade, you know, this and that or whatever, but they're not going to teach you. Like, they speak 3 languages there, and all 3 of the languages they speak are very specific to their people. Any Amish country you go into, you're going to see the same thing. They're going to wear the same type of clothes. And even when they wear stuff that's colorful, sometimes they're allowed to not wear just all black and white. They can wear different colors and stuff too. And even someone that you see wearing black and white, they wear the colors, but they wear them inside the house. But they're not worried about the outside experience. They're very private, right? Even to the point of they taking pictures, obviously, because they also believe that these graven images, they believe those are carved out, right? And you should respect their culture. I've never taken a picture of an Amish person and I've been in Amish land. You should not do that, right? Because it's against their culture, right? But if you get a chance to tour their stuff, you'll see the mansions, you'll see the languages, you'll see 3 different languages written out, you'll see the way that the children are. If you meet a child who's allowed to be going through this year or whatever, of trying to see what the world is like and see if he wants to stay in the world or in the world or be what they would consider to be the kingdom for them, they give all those rights. You have a right to do those things. They train you, they shelter you from a lot, and then they introduce you to things and say, hey, if we train you right, you'll see the wickedness and evil of what they say is wicked and evil. Right? They call anybody who's not Amish English. It don't matter if you're white or black, you're all English. Right? They don't like us to a certain degree. But even the ones that are cool with us, ye English. No offense, but ye English. You English, bro. What does that mean? That means that the English who are against them, the English who are their enemies, if you're not of us, then you English. Unless you get grabbed in at some point, and it's really hard to do that, especially as an adult, but unless you get grabbed in, ye English. Right? And you need to know, so in order to be elect, you got to be part of that community. How you doing, Ladybug? Yeah. And their children are very well behaved. If Bartholomew is a bad child, it's because Bartholomew didn't make sure that he churned butter last night. At 6, he waited till 6:30. Where were you for those 30 minutes? You know what I'm saying? Like they have a different standard. You know? If you go and eat their food is natural and their food is going to be well done. It's going to be done in a lot of old school type ovens. Still, there's some newer ovens they have because they found ways to have energy go different ways, and so they harness electricity without being attached to the grid. Yet church property is considered private property under the law, right? Or any kind of religious property for that matter. You know, that's why, matter of fact, you see a lot of churches, and then what will you see around a lot of churches, especially older churches? Look at older churches. What will you see? Think about it. Old school churches. What's something that you see? I'm talking about that would belong to the church. We don't even think about it when we see it. But why we see it, and why they continue to be put out there, because there's tons of places that you could put that'd be better for what it is I'm talking about to be. But if you see a bunch of churches where you see, okay, a steeple, I want to talk about like more on the ground. Houses for sure, right? Some churches, right? Some churches have schools, but I'm looking for something. Land, yeah, but land. But what do they do to make sure somebody can't take their land? There we go. Cemetery. Because if I bury a body there, it belongs to the family, or wherever the body's buried. So you bury enough bodies there, that belongs to those families. That's why there's some private cemeteries. Right, if you go to Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's place, guess where his body's buried? On that land. You walk right over something, you can see his little mausoleum he made to himself, or whatever. Not even really a mausoleum, but his little obelisk that he made to himself, so he could be a netter, just like George Washington wants to be a netter. You know, but you own that's yours now. That's your family's. They got to come see you now, right? That's why one of the things that you have the right to do, when they be looking for bodies, one of the reasons they're looking for bodies, you can't have a body be buried somewhere for so long, right? That body shouldn't be, if that body's there, that body, somebody land. They'll come and get that body real quick if somebody passes away. If they on a search and they finally find the body, unfortunately, trigger warning, I'm sorry, because I know some of you that means different from what it means for others. If they find that body, right? So where somebody is buried, literally, where somebody is buried, it means something. And some of you don't even know that really what's going on. A lot of times too, when you're paying and you look at the paperwork, you're saying that basically, hey, I want you guys to take care of my family's body, but also this transaction, they're saying, okay, we have ownership of this body. So you got to even look at your contract with that, because you're giving up rights. You know how people give up their rights and they sign contracts and we get to own your image and likeness throughout the universe of perpetuity? They're saying, shoot, this is our body now. We'll try to make it seem nice, and we'll let you visit it and everything, sure, right? Because that's your family and everything, but that's not your body anymore. It's ours. This is why I go back to biblical times. Who buries bodies? Family. It's on us. Now, families still, they show up. I'm talking about families back then. Your family, you bury your body. It's your land. Why would you bury it anywhere else? As a matter of fact, many persons, they would say, I want to be buried here. Bury me in my land. Bury me where I was raised. Bury me, where my countrymen are. Bury me where my kingdom is. Take me back to Goshen. Take me here. Right? Still exists in Jamaica, right? A lot of persons still do this stuff, right? But we've lost track of that. But that's because they belong to us. Who should take care of this body outside of us? This is why it gets really interesting even when you see like Moses' body. And what is it that happens? Moses passes away, not able to get into the land of Canaan. He gets a chance to look at the vast area that he's led the children of Yehoshua up to, and then he passes on, and who comes looking for his body? The devil. Even your remains. I don't know if we don't get out of this chapter 3, I'm sorry, right? Because I can't go as long as I know everything. We ain't even gone past chapter 2 yet. We're still talking about the elect. Sorry. Prayerfully you're getting something out of today's lesson, right? But Moses is not going into the land of Canaan. He's gone up to the mountain, and Yahweh has told him to go up there. Moses loses his life. And now that Moses and Moshe, he's lost his life. So now since he's lost his life, because he's not elect as far as Canaan is concerned, but he's still elect. So what happens? Nobody worried about getting his body anymore, but the Satan comes looking for his body. And if the Satan never got a hold of Moses' body, one of the things that would have happened, more than anything else that you got to look at, the Satan had gotten a hold of Moses' body, Moses' body. You know how many persons would have worshipped that? Like, have you seen a lot? It's not just only in European churches, but I bring that up because that's just the images that I've seen, and some even up close a couple of times. But that's just the images I've seen. You go to some of these churches, you go to some of these places, and you'll see even like the person's face is like, some of them still look like they, are in pristine condition, like they're still alive, just sleep, just about, almost. But you see some of their stuff and the flesh is rotten, or you see some of it is just, the skeleton now is just a skull, and you see him laying there. How you doing, Sister Keita? And thank y'all for the love. You see him laying there, right? You looking, and you're like, why is this person here? But that's because that person is synonymous with that land. They were a king of that area. They were a queen of that area. They were a duchess. They were a Dutch, etc., etc., right? And they're even heroic to those people, even people who are like, I don't know who this is, but they grew up with somebody that they were to do some research, they would discover, right, that body is important. So if the devil had gotten a hold of Moses' body, there would have been some wild stuff that probably would have been performed, and some wild stuff as far as people saying they worship and stuff like that. There would have been a lot of craziness going on. So all of a sudden you have, I believe it was Michael. I believe it was him who came and fought. I believe it was. I could be mistaken. I think it was, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that. But I believe it was Michael, and he fights against the Satan for the body, and he wins, right? But the Satan, and he takes the body and makes sure that the Satan doesn't have access to it. But even your body, even your fleshly body to ashes to ashes, dust to dust, right? It could have been worshipped. Now, I didn't tell us, but I'm pretty sure. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure. How you know, Sister Shima? Did I say hi earlier? Or today? Yeah, Sister Deborah, hopefully I said hi earlier. So, it doesn't really tell us, I believe. I could be wrong. Somebody give me the scripture if I'm wrong, right? It could be something in the Apocrypha, and I just don't recall. I'm pretty sure in the 66 books it doesn't tell us where he was buried, right? So his body could have been translated, even though he was not translated because he experienced death, but his body could have been translated, which actually would make sense if Enoch, we talk about so much the way we do because he was translated, and we have Yehoshua, who would be translated when he gets the glorified body, right? That comes back after after he lays down his own life. And then you have Moses' body that would have been translated, even if he wasn't translated. And you would have Elijah, who shows up in the Transfiguration, who also was translated, right? 3 out of the 4 that I mentioned, or 2 out of the 4 that I mentioned never experienced death, but still were translated. A lot of persons miss that part, right? You just go translated, but even your body can be translated even if you experience death. We think that the persons who are translated are the only persons who never experience death. But you have just in the Transfiguration, 3 persons. Elijah never experienced like what we call a physical passing. He just went up into the heavens in the chariot, right? And Elisha got the double portion. Yehoshua passes away, comes back, and then is translated, right? And then we have Moses who passed away, right? But still his body was taken, and more than likely was translated, taken up into the heavens. So, we have to be careful, like, even with some of this stuff. So anyways, getting to this word elect. We did all this extra research today, praise God. But we're getting back to the elect, which is what I'm trying to focus on, believe it or not. Getting back to the elect, which is what I want to, once again, bring some focus into. When we talk about the elect, we're speaking on a group that has to be qualified. A group that has to be qualified. Thank you, Dr. T. It's got to be a group that's got to be qualified. I feel like I took this all over the place, but prayerfully we're working what we need to work. And praise God. It's a group that must be qualified. If you're not qualified, you can't be elect. And if this election is not by the people, this election is by the Most High. So I'm sorry if you're like, well, all of my friends, they said they'd vote me in the blah, blah. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that Yahweh would elect you. He's not voting you. He's already said, this is what I chose you to do before the foundation of the world. I called you to do what you're chosen to do. Now, will you do what you're chosen to do? See, many are called, few are chosen. What does that mean? I chose you before the foundations of the world to be that chef. Now I'm calling you, I'm inviting you to do it. If you will do what you're invited to do, then you're simply just saying, I will do what I've been chosen to do. If you're saying what I've been chosen to do, then in essence, you have become the elect. That's why your works matter. As we saw here with Enoch already, chapter 41. That he said that I saw the division in heaven. And I saw that there are those that are in the mansion, that's the elect. The mansion is an add-on to the house. It's not a big house. It means that there's a room that's been added on. Right? And it's not God's will that any of us will perish, but all would have everlasting life. But before we get there, can we have an honest conversation? He's been asking you to do some works. And many of us keep saying why it's all right for us to not work. Even if Revelation chapter 20 verse 12 tells you different. For many of you, it will not matter how many scriptures I show you that combat the hardness of our hearts. We'll continue to allow our hearts to be hardened. We won't do what we're supposed to do, right? And we saw what happened to Pharaoh. And we'll still have messengers, and we'll still have preachers, and we'll still have teachers, and we'll still have the word, and we'll still have all this stuff that will be proven to us day by day. This is how you're supposed to roll. This is how you're supposed to honor things. This is what God's looking for, from us. I'm sorry. This is what Yahweh is looking for from us. There we go. This is what Yahweh is looking for from us. Excuse me. Right? We'll see that, and we'll still keep trying our best to make every excuse in the book as to why we shouldn't do what God says. We'll still try to make every excuse in the book as to do, why not to do what Yahweh says. It's right there, though. And here's Enoch, way before all these other cats that we used to talk about. Here's Enoch, right? Here's Enoch passing this information down to Noah, or to Methuselah. Here's Methuselah passing this information down to his grandson Noah. Methuselah and Noah will preach this stuff. And just like in the days of Noah, cats will see Enoch, come together under Enoch, and love Enoch more than they'll love the word. And Enoch can do anything but give them word, but they still don't listen to it. And now, just like in the days of Noah, here we are, just a couple generations removed from some of us, a few generations removed, where we're back in truth and saying we need to do things righteously, and we need to get back to what is in right lawful standing. We need to connect, we need to build a nation, we need to do this stuff. And cats are still like, well, whatever, I'm not doing this. And like back then, in the days of Noah, when they were drinking and they were married and they were all this stuff, here you come, you're going to be drinking and you're going to be married and all this, and you're going to miss everything that God has for you. Not just by yourselves, collectively, if you're not careful. In order to be the elect, you must be chosen. If you were chosen before the foundation of the world, that's great, but you're not forced because there's free will. So if you're not forced, then you are kletos, you are invited to do what you are chosen to do. And you are invited to do what you were created to do. And if you do it, and do it righteously, then your works go with the faith in the one who created you. Then we call you the elect. But many of us are not elect. Many of us are trying to elect ourselves. Many of us are not following the law of the king, of the word of the king. Many of us are trying to vote on what we should do. And if we should come under this authorization that we've already been given. Let's vote to see if we should treat human beings with respect. And if that's what you need. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, right? I'm about to go on a tangent again. I'm sorry, but it is what it is, right? I'm just letting you know, like that might be your thing that you've been waiting on is, we need to have somebody voted in so that we can know how to treat somebody in humanity. Like when we vote this person in, they're going to make sure we're treated like human beings. We need to vote because we need to make sure this person treats others like human beings. Here you are talking about treating people like human beings, though, but you don't mind ripping the babies out of human beings' wombs and telling others that they're not human beings. Too much? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it is. Like what how audacious is that? The audacity that you must have to say that I will snatch life out of a womb. Literally, forgive me, trigger warning. Literally snatch life out of a womb. Having to break it into pieces. You know how we know they have to break it into pieces? Because they have to be trained on the anatomy and the anatomy of when they're breaking apart the child, so that they can build the child back together outside of the womb to ensure that all parts have come out of the mother, or else the mother will become sick. How you doing, twin? Right? They would do all those things. They have to literally. They would snatch all the pieces, and then they do it with force, because the child is not intended to come out yet. And then they had to teach a generation. See, here's another thing nobody wants to talk about. All this stuff with that A word that rhymes with extortion. Let's just go ahead and go here. Right? It is what it is today. Right? All that stuff that rhymes with extortion. Like people talk about the elect. Now the elect are electing somebody to go against that and all that foolishness. Let's just be honest. What you said? You said promiscuity or promiscuous, as your grandmother would say. Yeah. Let's just dive a little deep into that. Right? Let's just so we need to elect. Now Yah has already said that person was chosen, that child was chosen, that you ripped apart before the foundation of the world. I knew you before you formed in the belly, right? But that word that rhymes with extortion, that word that was never done for pleasure or done to get somebody out of something. You guys know this, correct? I don't think you see the wickedness in it. The only reason why you guys believe that you're supposed to be able to get that or tell your girl to get that, the only reason why that was even thought of as a possibility in any culture, no matter how evil you think the culture might be, unless you're talking about extreme evil where persons literally have people write stuff about them like that, like Caligula, right? Possibly Nero and others, who did stuff like that and were considered to be some of the most hated and evil men to ever walk the face of the planet. It's quite possible they never even did those things, but that persons who saw whatever plays coming out where persons were doing that, persons began to write against Caligula and others because they were his enemies and they wanted you forever, the historians wanted you forever to believe that he was that evil. He probably might not even done that. We're not even sure. Right? We're not even aware that was something that was done. We have no clue. That's whether that was done or not, right? But that was extreme evil, even in some of the most evil people to ever live, or persons to ever live. That is something that you never expected anybody to do. Why would you take out a living child that cannot survive yet outside of the womb? The only reason you did that was because of an emergency situation. Possibly the mother wasn't going to be able to survive, and somebody might come to the father and say, hey, it's your wife or the child. It was a hard decision to make. By the way, it's a real decision because guess what? As much as everybody just goes, go for the child, go for the child, go for the child, that's hard for the father to make that decision because the word also says that his wife comes before the child. So that decision, I'm not here to really speak on it because that's your personal decision. I would say that I would just say scripturally, your wife comes before the child, but your wife, if her wish is, and she says, looks at you and says, child first, right? I pray nobody goes through that. I'm just saying that's the only time that was considered. Real talk. That's the only time that was considered. Even the whole idea of, and I know they're not necessarily doing this with that A word that runs with extortion, but even if you are somebody who is considering even something like cutting open the stomach, please forgive me, a C-section. That was something that was done in Uganda first. That was actually learned in the 1800s, I believe. There were nations in Uganda that were actually, or the area we now call Uganda, where they were doing that already, or had been doing it for centuries. And they would do it for the health of the mother, and that was extreme circumstances. If they couldn't get certain things done in extreme circumstances, then you would make sure that you did that. Right now, we do it, to profit. But even if you go back to chattel slavery, in those days and those times, when you're looking at chattel slavery, what are you really looking at? How you doing this important? When you go back to chattel slavery, what are you actually looking at? Chattel slavery, it was done there. They were actually, they were taking your women, and they were given, that you would pay slaves, right? They're just property. So you would pay, and there would be doctors or so-called hospitals or so-called research centers, whatever you'd like to call them, right? And you would see these persons be sent out, your community, these Negroes and others, right, that were considered to be Negroes, even if they weren't. They would be sent to all these different places to be researched on, and sometimes the research was they wanted to look on the inside of a mother while the mother was still alive. And since this wasn't a person, this was a slave, they wouldn't even give him any kind of anesthesia or anything, right? Like, you guys know, if you don't know this, even out of chattel slavery, that's where you get the whole OBGYN stuff, right? I'm not going to be too crass, but when you go and somebody goes there and they're sticking their fingers inside of you and stuff like that, and then they're spreading this stuff out, they kind of used to play with y'all when you're tied down. And then, they didn't have time to go into the other stuff. Sometimes they might have fell out, did something to you while you were on the table, but then they might take, they came up eventually with that, whatever you call them, the thing that, that's used to keep the stuff spread, and it'd be all cold and it hurts and stuff like that. That's because they didn't care back then if it hurt you at all. And they kept researching, and finally they came up with this thing that helped to be able to look inside you and to study you and to study your unborn child. And sometimes, if they wanted to go even further with the study of your unborn child, well, then they just go ahead and straight up snatch the unborn child out of your womb. Right? And just like back then, they still tell you guys stuff like, y'all don't feel pain the same way others do. Where did that come from? But we can't have somebody screaming and this and that, and we say this and that, and we say all these different things. We gotta have something that tells us, oh, they just messing around, they just faking, they just playing. They just playing with you. They're not really that righteous or whatever. They really don't feel pain like that, right? Matter of fact, that's when they want to admit that you had melanin back then. When you got that shit melanin anyway, melanin does the pain. Even though we don't have melanin lives, you probably feel more because of it, right? But you're having all these different things that are going on, right? You're having all these different things that are going on, and you're having all these things that are happening as far as stir-ups. So you have all these different things that are going on and happening, and all these different things that are happening as far as persons who need to, and who are doing this wild stuff to you, including even the taking out of your child without your permission. That's where this modern thing of what you call this A-word divine extortion. Let's just call it extortion, so I don't keep saying it. That's where this modern extortion, because that's what it is happening, right? How you doing, Sister Beck? That's where this is coming from, right? You had these things be there for so long, and you don't even recognize where they come from. And then what happened over time, right? It was money. They were making money. It was research and this and that. They needed more bodies. Okay, even some of the breeding camps that you had, they breeded some of these babies that were happening, or some of you that were coming into position. Some of you, especially if you weren't breeding at the rate that you needed to, right? You can go ahead and be used for research, just like chattel, just like cattle. That's how they treat you, right? Then you go from there to somebody like Margaret Sanger, who you can talk to, lift up, Planned Parenthood and all this stuff, and lift up Margaret Sanger and say, man, I'm so glad that if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be able to have rights or women's bodies. Women should have rights to their bodies, et cetera, and we should have had rights and all this stuff, et cetera, right? But as they're sitting there doing these things, and as they're sitting there talking, and as they're sitting there, they don't want to tell you and teach you that Margaret Sanger was against two groups of persons more than anybody else. Who are those two groups? She was a group against Jews, as in Ashkenazi. She was also against Negroes, as in you, the actual Jews. Right? Anything that smelled like Judah, anything that looked like you, it was problematic for them. Anything that looked like you, it was problematic for them. Right? And so Margaret Sanger literally said about you and about them, and those who are grafted in, even from them, if you want to call them us. But about you and about them, this is what Margaret Sanger said. She said that basically it was bad to have you guys procreate. You guys are in a bad state. You guys are not as smart. You guys don't have the abilities. You guys don't have all this. So hey, we'll make sure. She didn't say everybody who's in a bad state should be aborted, though. Well, I said that one time. Shouldn't go through extortion. She said that there should be extortion for those who are of those two groups, because you guys are so low and you're low class and you'll never become better anyways. You'll never become greater anyways. That's what she said. Right? So Margaret Sanger then did that and went to the point of making sure that she was going to your churches. Yeah. Balaam doctrine. She started going to your churches and started up the same thing. And the churches were the ones that said, yeah, let's give out the condoms. And the schools were the ones that said, let's give out the condoms. Right? Let's not make sure that abstinence is real, and let's not make sure that dating is not allowed, and let's not make sure we don't go into the modern woman and the modern man who supports the modern woman, right, who's just really no longer being man or woman the way that Yahweh says. No. They said, let's keep supporting wickedness. And they allowed it to be preached from the pulpit. They allowed it to be voted on. They marched for it. And then they started getting you guys to do this thing that they do with y'all today. Right? What they do with y'all today. Think about what they do with y'all today. To this day. Right? Think about what they do with y'all still to this day. Got you marching, and they'll tell you, if you don't march, if you don't agree, so you're as bad as the enemy is. You're just as misogynistic as everybody else. You're a white supremacist just as much as everybody else, because you're not caping up for those, and you need to realize that they're just as destitute as you. They're just as much a minority as you. No. You think that a white gay man that presents himself as straight goes through the same stuff I go through? You think that a white gay man that presents himself as feminine goes through the same stuff that I do? Watch this. I'm going to say something that you're not going to like. Because I know we mistreat our community. You're right. And when I say mistreat, I'm not saying we got to be down with what they're down for, but we should still treat them like human beings. So I'm aware of that. I'm still going to make a true statement, though. Do you think that, especially in the so-called white world, do you think that a black gay man is less respected than a black straight man? I know. Somebody don't want to hear that. I'm going to say it again, because somebody need to hear it. We might get whatever. Limit us, whatever. It is what it is. Right? We already limited today. They already limited what they need to do. They did it yesterday. Right? So our numbers will come back up eventually where they need to. We go up, down, up, down. That's what it is. I'm going to say what I need to say. Right? And prayerfully you catch what I'm saying. Do you really believe, statistically, right, that black gay men are treated worse in white society than black straight men? Do you really believe that? The more feminine a man is, if he's dark skinned, the higher he's gonna go, because he's not a threat. Now he's not gonna be put in charge of certain things. Real talk. He's not gonna be put in charge of certain things. But a black gay man is not gonna be treated better than a black straight man. A lot of places he'll get higher up, right? You know how I know this? Watch this. How about, I don't even remember the name of the organization. Y'all have to, somebody might have to remember. But I was actually, because I'm not I'm not anti-gay, but I tell the truth. And I told the person who I was traveling with at the time the truth. There was a guy where I used to help him out. They do, I forget what the name of the place is. They're the people who will usually be your lawyers for a lot of stuff, and they tell persons, how to interact with the police, how to follow the law in this type of situation. They will make sure, of bad things. Then they do a lot of great work as far as activism, right? There's some things they're a little off on, but they do a lot of great work. I forget the acronym or whatever the name of the government. It's not even government, they're anti-government, but they're basically locked in with the government. They kind of work hand in hand with the government for if you get deep into it. But anyways, there was this guy who works for them. Really high up, right? Met him, talking to him. I guess you would probably consider him, I don't know. What are they on the spectrum of LGBTQ+? They probably consider him to be cute, I guess. I don't know. I think so, right? He's a so-called preacher too. Going to a church where you're allowed to be whatever you want to be, right? But preacher, probably, and if I remember correctly, was a preacher, had to pretend to be straight, then all say he wanted to be straight no more, wanted to be cute, and et cetera, right? But anyways, so he goes into, but he's working for whatever this company is, and they do this stuff where they do choirs, but they don't do, and so he knows that I play for a church. He's heard me play before. He got somebody told him I could play really well. I could put together stuff. I work with mass choirs, and they do these things where they will take famous songs, usually gospel songs, and they'll take them and they'll rework them so that the choir can sing them for working stuff like what's that song? I can't even recall. There was one that they really, really liked. But they'll take songs that are supposed to be first, and they use them as like rallying cries for unions and stuff like that. And they'll have these huge events that fill up stadiums, like Baltimore Ravens where they play. That's one place they had a thing. I didn't even know this was a big deal, but they had these union groups, and these union groups will have choirs or something that they used to do from when they started unions. They used to do stuff like that or whatever, and they would take, hymnals, and they would change them into stuff so that you could sing together, whatever, right? And this person, is doing all this stuff, and really, if you go there, it's like a service. It's like a word that's being preached, right? And I had to be careful because, to be honest with you, I was making excuses because I was basically poor, right? Didn't realize I was poor. I thought I was poor, but really I was rich. But in my mind, I'm poor. I need to have something. I got to take care of, to make sure I can at least pay for the room that I'm in. And I can't get a regular job. And if I'm going to get something that's going to be working, I'm working sometimes 2 jobs when I can get a job, but I can only get paid $7.25 an hour, then I ain't really, it's actually hurting me, literally, to work for that, rather than just go ahead and somebody give me a gig, and even if it's just one gig, and even if I got to go through months and months of rehearsal or whatever, but hey, at the end of it, I can get $1,000 for what I did, for about 4 rehearsals and 1 gig, right, writing a couple things over and over again, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? So I was making excuses for it, but I got kind of in the rabbit hole, and I started seeing some things. Some persons, not all of them were LGBTQ+. I saw persons, a lot of persons who were, your allies. And I saw a lot of persons who made a lot of money, and they made decisions for Baltimore County, and they made decisions for, they were telling people how to do things in different states in the country. And you recognize, and you see all that stuff, and if you're not careful, you see it's real close. Like they make you, even when I would have conversation, I can't tell all my business. I'll just say it like this. I had certain conversations with the person, not about us, but about the person I'm talking about, with the brother I'm talking about, not about us, but, I was alone, had been chased or whatever, and every once in a while as a guy, I'm thinking about stuff or whatever, and there would be girls, right, who would present themselves. And I'd be like, man, I gotta stay chased, blah, blah, this and that. And it'd be the dude who's on the other team, right? You're not on the straight team, but still, he'd be the one talking about, well, because remember, he's cute. So cute, I guess, means you can go back and forth, but you're not quite be, or you can present yourself as that sometimes, whatever. I think he'd be cute. But anyways, he'd be the one trying to give me scriptures and telling me, well, you do this and you do so much for this, and look at what you're doing for the unions, and look what you're doing for these churches, and look what you're doing in the street, and you sitting over this and blah blah, and you've been married before, and now you're not married right now, and you should go and do blah blah. I mean, he laying this thing out for me, and I had to realize, like, this dude talking in my ear too much, right? I done let this guy get so familiar, not familiar in any kind of perverted way, but I done let this dude get familiar to where he's giving me scriptural references, right, for stuff. And because my flesh is weak at the time, the last thing I need to hear is pressure. And he's not my peer, by the way. And if the person, I'll be honest, no shade, I don't recall your name, but if you know who you are, you know who you are, right? But if you watch this, I'm not trying to say you're not my peer as far as you're not as great as me, but you're not my peer because you're not in the kingdom, right? But you're close. You're close enough, and what I'm doing is not that difficult because I do it for choir here, so I'll do it for the choir there, right? Right? I almost remember the name of the song, so I can give you all an example of what he was doing. But anyway, right? You know that song? We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree. Right? They take that song and they talk about it being a union thing. Right? So I ain't even had to work that hard. I know that song. Right? I can put together a little band. I can do your rehearsals. We can even like perform in front of like thousands that I didn't even know this stuff existed. But hey, like I'm marking off all these boxes, and I don't even gotta worry about, okay, God's taking care of my bill. So I'm saying God's taking care of my bill. Isn't that blah blah? I'm upholding the kingdom. They're saying, even sometimes they're saying God. They're saying yes. They must be. No, they ain't talking about the same thing. It's close enough where the enemy can start putting stuff in your ears. That's why when somebody else had a Q&A, when we had a couple persons have asked us in times past, hey, what if I want to go to church still, or I go to somewhere where they're talking about Jesus still, could I do fellowship? I tell you, hey, all right, just be careful. You got to be strong, and you got to be able to what? To study, to show thyself approved, and bring everything before Elohim, right? That you can be a workman that needed not be ashamed, right? To divide the word of truth. You can be close enough, and you swear, once again, that this is the elect. You swear that this is the elect. Remember, you got to be qualified lawfully to be elect. And if you're going somewhere where they're telling you you disobey the law, you're already dealing with a problem. Right? We seem to be the same. We're close. They give a very close word. They give a very close fellowship. They give a very close thing. But if you pay attention in the marks, but when they say the profit margins, sometimes the power is in the margins, sometimes the truth is in the margins, right? It can be a marginal increase still gives you profit, right? Marginal decrease still gives you decrease. Well, if you look in the margins and they're still not lawful, you gotta just be careful about certain things, because it's gonna be easy. And I know, and look, this is one of the reasons why SOC, we got to get it together. Because look, we don't want this to just be virtual. We would like it to be reality. And so at some point, yes, if we're not careful, persons will pine for that, because we should not act like fellowship doesn't matter. But if we're not going to fellowship together, right, then we got to realize persons are going to say, all right, well, I'm going to get fellowship because that's in the Bible, right? But at the same time, be careful who you're fellowshipping with. Elijah, if you're in the cave, it doesn't mean that there are not thousands that have not bowed their knee down to Baal. You're not the last one. Right? But many of us feel like that. Many of us feel like that. And I'm sorry, Vince, I missed a comment earlier about the first command, your Elohim is to be fruitful and multiply. Right? So we have to be careful, because they seem to be the elect, but once again, the elect should follow the law. The elect cannot be qualified for the election if they are disobedient to the law. That's what an elect is, and you're not elected by people. See, you're used to going to even churches, right, where you are elected by the persons or the people of your church or your congregation. But no, you're supposed to be elected by Yah. Well, we gotten so away from it that we're just going to pray and ask Yah and to send somebody, and then what do we say? Then we're going to go ahead and put out, we're going to advertise the position, and we're going to make sure the person can give us their resumes. Now, think about this now. So we're led by Yah. We're praying. We want Holy Ghost to take over, and we're going to have an election so that we can touch and agree with who Yah has elected. I'm not even talking about your physical election, because everybody just gets caught up on that. See, voting is not only happening with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Voting happens every day just about. And I've been through it, right? I tried to get elected. I had people tell me a few times I would always get second place. But, right? And I might not have, and obviously it was not for me, right? But that being said, I've been through the process where somebody would come and they want you to do all these different things or whatever, and then even if the leadership of the assembly says, you are God, but they'll say, but you know we got to vote on it. And then somebody comes through and they can hoop better than you, then you're not going to get elected. Right? How do I apply for what I'm already elected to? Come on, somebody. How you doing, Sister Sylvia? That's a word, right? So roll with me now. Let's have an honest discussion. How do you apply for what? Like, how does somebody else have the right to tell me what I'm chosen? Now, if I'm chosen is a good thing, but how you have the right to tell me that I need to figure out if I'm chosen? Shalom. You see what I'm saying? This is the world we're in now. This is what we teach you to be babies. Right? How does somebody have the right to tell you that you've got to apply? Not with Yah, but with them. For what you're elected to. You've been chosen to do what you do before the foundation of the world. And here's some joker talk about, hey, Sister Shema, before you do that, first check in with me to see if what Yah said. No, if anything, see, watch this. If you come to me, I'll be telling persons like this anyway. Don't come to Pastor Kofi. Tell him, Pastor Kofi, I need you to tell me what to do. Right? Because I'm gonna ask you, first things first, what did Yah say do? And once we find out what that is, then I'm not gonna sign off on what you need to do. I'm gonna see how can we get you there together. Because I'm not the one that chose you before the foundation of the world. Right? So if you were already chosen, then we need to figure out what you need to do what you've chosen to do. So I'm not trying to tell you what you need to hear so that you do things according to what everybody else is going to come across. And that might be a problem, because many of you are going to be like, all right, Pastor Cole's going to give me something, and as soon as he gives it to me, I'm going to say it to somebody, and everybody's going to touch and agree. No, what I'm going to tell you is what Yah said. I'm going to say, Yahweh says, if that's what you've chosen to do, this is what we need to get done. All right? That's what I'm going to do. Yah said, if you chosen to do this, this is how we do it in our culture, in our community. This is what I got from Holy Ghost to help us with some things that are going on at the present time. And I believe if we set things up at SOC with you, we can help you in future tense. But I'm not going to tell you, right, I'm not going to tell you something that's going to please everybody, because if the Bible's not written for everybody, and the word of Yah is on your heart, then that means that what you have written for you is not written for everybody. Come on, SOC. That was worth the price of admission right there. Did you hear me? I'm going to say it one more time. You heard me? I'm going to say it one more again. Like, if the word is not for everybody, and the word is written upon the tablets of your heart, Minister Steve, then that means that what is for you is supposed to be disagreed upon, because it's not for everybody. That means you're not for everybody. You're not, as the old saying says, you're not everybody's cup of tea. You feel what I'm saying? So my responsibility is never to try and get you to fit in, because you're not going to ever fit in with everybody. And that's not a thing to get on anybody, right? I am a strong drink for persons who are looking for a great time. I'm a strong drink. I'll give you a great time, but I'm gonna make sure that you crawl before you walk. Right? I tell persons straight up, like, I'm a strong cup of tea. I get it. I know that I am. I'm not even trying to deny it. I'm not trying to play with it. I'm not trying to act like I'm not. So, truth be told, right? I had some persons giving some suggestions, talking about they wanted me to have do music lessons and stuff, and maybe you should do them virtually or whatever. And I was like, maybe even come on TikTok every once in a while and just start doing music lessons, do it at a time when children are available. Maybe I could do it on Twitch. I wouldn't even mind doing that. I've been starting to open up Twitch stuff again. I never really developed it, but maybe put the information out on there, right? But we develop the stuff. Persons want to come on, young children want to come on, they want to be part of some stuff, get some stuff, or whatever. Have different instruments on there, right? I got to make sure that first that I'm doing it inside my own house, a little better first, because we're traveling a lot and I'm not giving as much of my own, so I want to make sure I'm doing that first. But it took me in accordance with Yahweh's will. But then I told persons, so we were talking about it, I was like, I said, real talk, I'll do it. I did it at a really high level. And even if persons are better than me, like even if I can't sing, I can still somebody, right? Because I really don't have the voice for it anymore, right? Because I talk too much. Like I talk too much. You have to have a gift to be able to talk and sing. Some people can do that. I can't do that, right? Some of the things that you will hear go on my voice sometimes is because I was trying to talk and sing. You got to really be gifted to like really, create certain persons with the ability to do that, no matter how much you exercise. With that being said, I can teach somebody how to sing and barely be able to sing, carry a note some days. Right? I have the ability to teach it, but I was saying the other night though, I was like, if I do it though, I'm strong. I'm a strong drink, man. I'm a strong tea. Because I'm not gonna let you. If you really want me to do this, I'm not gonna let you crawl before you. I'm not gonna let you run before you crawl. Right? So I get it. Like if you're gonna do it, you're gonna learn skills. So you're gonna be like, no, teach me this and teach me these chords. I'll teach you these chords, but your first few weeks you're gonna have to probably learn skills. I'm talking about do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do it again. Do it again. Do it backwards. Do it one hand. Do it with both hands. Do it split octaves. Do it 2 octaves apart. Do it 3 octaves apart. Do it on the organ, right? Do it on a piece of paper if you can't afford a keyboard. Write it out. Print out a picture of it and do it every day over and over again. Oh, that's boring. Yeah, it is. Until you finally get it, and then I start saying, do an arpeggio. What's an arpeggio? Da, da, da. Right, you go da, 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 da. You play all 3 together, da, da, da. Right? And then play as a chord, means all 3 at the same time. Da, you go to chord. Right? Now I can say, do that here, do that here, do that here, do that here. I just taught you 15 songs. Before I'm not going to teach you 15 songs, and then you can't ever play it in all the keys. I'm going to teach you all the scales so that you know every single scale. Once you know every single scale, I'm going to teach you the same progression. Mathematically, you're going to have to learn some stuff, but once you get that, if you can do it in 15 scales, then guess what? All major scales are minor scales. I'll move you down literally 3 notes to the 6th note of every scale, and I'll have you start there. That's a whole nother scale, right? There's something called mixolydian. That's a dominant scale or a dominant chord. A lot of jazz, you'll see there, a lot of blues, you'll see where somebody do that. I'll teach you that. I'll teach you a lot of different things. I can teach you, but if I can get you to learn your major scales, then you've already learned every other scale. I'm just going to tell you go to the 6th note instead of the 1st, right? But I'm going to be very in your face. So I was telling her, I was like, I'll pray about it. But real talk, I'll pray about it. But we might not. I pray about it, but we might not, y'all might not want to be in Pastor Kofi when you teach music. Because if you think that this is a lot, right, there's no cheat codes, right, no loopholes in some of this stuff. Like, you're going to have to learn every part of it. But if you learn the basics, if you learn the foundation, then once you go to the other stuff, and especially when your ear starts to catch up, right, when your ear starts to catch up, because your ear is something that's developed over time as well. But if I can get you to get your scales and we go to some basics on your ear, then you'll be able to hear the bass note or the key, basically, that the song is in. And once you hear that, you can play whatever at any time. I don't even get a chance to play and practice at all pretty much anymore, unless I'm really teaching somebody, or every once in a while I have to do something in a funeral. I really don't play music like I used to. I'm starting to kind of do beats to a certain degree, but I still haven't even started putting that stuff out again. So I didn't even really get to do this stuff, and that's a huge love for my life. That was a huge piece of my life. I thought that's what I was going to do more than preach. And I took it serious. And I was a dude that could lock himself in the room 12 hours a day, right? Sometimes just on one instrument or going from instrument to instrument to instrument. right? Then go in the midst of that, go to the rehearsal, come back. And was trying his best so that he could hit stuff and do stuff that maybe I would never play, but just in case I came across it, I wanted to make sure that I could do it. Like that's the seriousness and the level that I had dedicated. So if you have somebody like me become your teacher, and you say, yeah, that's not fun, you came to the wrong person. You know what I'm saying? You came to the wrong person. I'm strong drinking that. I get it. Right? This tea is steeped. It's been steeping for a minute. and if you ask me to change what's going on with this tea, you're probably not going to like what you're going to get back. Right? Because I'm not really going to, truth is told, I have been better in the last few times that I was doing lessons. I have been better at making sure that I find ways to not be as overbearing, right? But the way my mind works, I'm just like that. That's why I tell you I have to be careful with righteousness and unrighteousness, because I'm habitual. I have to do it the same way every time, right? If I don't do it the same way every time, or at least have something set up in the same manner, right? Every time that I travel, I'm thinking about stuff in the same way. The last several times I've traveled, my clothes go in one area, right? My book bag goes in one area, right? Right, and I try to make sure that that's there. Or if I'm traveling this time, it's been a little different because of being on the road and wanting to make sure we could do live sessions and knowing that, we might not be in certain places that I'm used to traveling in and not knowing where we'd be able to find a place to do a live session. So I made sure that my stuff is going to be in a certain place. But either time, anywhere you look at it, every time it's very habitual. It's going to be the same way, right? It's habit forming, right? So I'm not somebody who can change habits that quickly. I can change on the fly. Somebody thinks I'm changing on the fly, and they go, man, he did that and he just improvised that. I practiced it so many times that what you call improvisation, I call, practice. I call it's the manifestation of years, right? Years of practice, years of do, re, mi in every key, right? Years of do, re, mi in every key, years of listening to stuff enough to where I know somebody's flat or sharp, right? Years, right? Like years of, like, you see what I'm saying? And when you get to that level, it's hard to listen to certain things, right? Like for everybody else, when Bill Clinton plays the saxophone, y'all go, oh man, that's crazy. Just because he can play a saxophone doesn't mean you should listen to him. If you're somebody who has been trained musically, Bill Clinton can't play a saxophone. It sounds awful, right? It sounds like it sounds like there's somebody who made states in 5th grade who would blow Bill Clinton out the water, right? Like Bill Clinton sounds awful. You know how you guys, because you love your children so much, even though they may not be in 2nd and 3rd and 4th grade when they're doing their recital, it might not be the best, but you're still gonna support them and this and that, right? But take away your love for the child and take away the child and put Bill Clinton in. That's what that is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, ears are tuned. You say that a lot, even with your brother. Yeah, So I can hear something, and if somebody were to be like, "What do you hear?" and I were to go to the piano, I can tell you, "Oh yeah, this part right here," and I can tell you, like, but what really drives the song, like for example, I don't know. So for many of you, right, if you would listen to, I don't know, James Brown, what's the James Brown song? Sex Machine, right? Sing like a sex machine, right? The way I like it, the way it is, all that stuff, right? What is the most important part of the song? The most important part of the song is what? It's actually 2 parts. The guitar part is the most important. You'd be like, the guitar part, yeah. That's the most important part of the whole song. It's more important than the drums, anything. Right? What's the next most important part? Bass guitar part. And it's not the same. It's right? It's the most important part. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because to the untrained ear, you listen for Say on the Scene, right? And you listening for that's nice. It's a nice part, right? But that's not what it's on. It's a nice part, but that's not what it's on. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's not the most important part. So to the untrained ear, you'd be listening for James. And James, I know many people say he shouts. James can sing, right? Try me, right? This is the man's world. James can sing. With that being said, the most important part in all that stuff is going to be all the other things, right? So I'm just saying all that to say, you got to be elect, somebody who's elect. So when you talk about elected, I'm not just talking about your elections. I'm talking about elected many different ways. The school board who's elected, the school board that's elected, the mayor that's elected, your pastor that's elected, your person that you elect in places. We try to vote persons in, right? The elect in the kingdom is the one who's qualified lawfully by Yah. It's extremely important that we catch that. I'm not talking about that today, but it's extremely important that we catch that. If we don't catch that, we're going to miss pretty much everything else. It's important that we catch what the elect is. Once again, why is it important that we catch the elect? Because the elect literally has to be qualified lawfully, legally. That's the first place. Before you start talking about, I want to vote for this person, vote for that person, I want to vote for this word, vote for that person, all the coalition stuff. First things first they need to teach you is the person qualified lawfully? If they're not qualified lawfully, they can't even be elected. So then if the person's qualified lawfully, then you should start asking yourself, are they qualified uniquely as far as community? Right? So even in your elections, for those of you who are still doing all that, you're not even looking at it in the right manner. Because how does somebody get elected if they're not qualified? How do you keep running the same unqualified persons in front of you? Kamala had been ran in front of y'all already. Remember? And then she got outed before. Then she told you Joe Biden was racist. Then she ran with racist Joe Biden, said we did it, then took over for Joe Biden, and now she was your hope. They're running the same game, bro. With the same unqualified people. How you go from Bill Clinton and talking about we need Hillary Clinton? And both of them are tearing your behind up. And both of them said that you were super predators. And both of them, right, one of them is now saying they put hot sauce in their pocket, where the other one was saying, I play the saxophone every day. You know what I'm saying? Playing on your stuff as they locking you up. Yes, that's subversion, ideological subversion, right? You know, they're doing all these different things. And you sit up there talking about, I don't get it. Well, this will be the time. All they're doing is putting the same person in front of you. If you don't believe it, Ronald Reagan ran on Make America Great Again. What did Donald Trump run on? They're not even changing the game. They're not even changing the chess pieces. It's the same chess game. The king still does the same move. The queen still does the same move. Who cares if she's white or black? Uh-oh. Come on, I felt that one. Who cares if she's white or black? She moves the same. Who cares if she ends up on a black check or part of the board or a white part of the board? She moved the same. The pawns only move twice, at one time, and every other time they move less. And they're pawns. They're designed to be pawns. They're designed to be treated like that. They don't change just because. And if the players who control the chessboard change, you're still elected to do the same thing. I don't know you somebody. Right? Don't miss that part too. Even if the person who is controlling what's on the board changes. What's that going to do? They still have to follow by the same law or the same rules or the same movement on the board. So if I'm playing against Solomon, and then Solomon gets up, and then Elder Alma sits down, and I'm playing against Elder Alma, just because Elder Alma's playing in place of Solomon doesn't mean that the rules have changed, and it doesn't mean I move the pieces differently. I might have a different strategy with the same pieces, but it's the same pieces. You see what I'm saying? So who cares? Like, I don't think people catch that. Like, at the end of the day, it's the same government, the same board. And if you're not going to come out of that government, in other words, even if you go into government, don't be of it, if you're not going to change the way that you govern yourselves, or even think that it's possible to govern yourself, then what's the point? And this is when people are going to get upset They're going to argue, and they're going to say, "Oh, see, he's part of the problem, and don't let him be part of our coalition." I haven't been part of your coalition. I was being part of your coalition when I was just doing straight activism. I was never really part of your coalition. That was one of the things that some of y'all said y'all liked about me back in the day, right? When we first started, before they took down the old YouTube channel and all that stuff. Some of y'all said y'all loved the fact that I was going to make sure that I was going to bring a perspective that was fresh to you because it was straight biblical and there was nothing else. But we don't want straight biblical perspective. We want straight Republican or Democrat. We want straight do the same thing we've been doing and expect a different result. We want continue to talk about how a woman's body should be protected, while the Margaret Sangers of the words are the ones who told you that your body shouldn't be protected, and they were the ones that told you that you shouldn't have the right to have children because you were too low class. At some point, we got to realize they're just doing the same thing. Right? And are we all right with acknowledging that they're doing the same thing to us? Are we all right with acknowledging the truth? My brother, my sister, is it all right for me to tell you the truth? My brother, my sister, is it all right for me to look you in your eye and tell you that you're supposed to be the elect of the kingdom? How are you trying to get elected by the world? Right? If you're going to call it the elect, real talk, once again, if you're going to call it the elect, then the elect is not, you got to figure out who has the right, lawful place to elect you. What are you being elected into? Right? You can't, if you're talking about an election means who elects you. If you're talking about the elect of Yah, then that means that you got to make sure that you're elected by him. So now, that being the question that I asked, I have to give a question, right? I have to ask a question now. I'm on, SJ, right? Now I got to ask a question. Is Yah pleased with you wanting Donald Trump to be elected? Is Yah pleased with you wanting Kamala Harris to be elected? Don't try to change her. Don't try. Well, she's better. I didn't ask that. You say you're of Yah. You say you're of kingdom. Okay. Kingdom question. For kingdom ears. Let those who hear and answer. Right? Do you think that Yahweh is pleased because you wanted Donald Trump to be elected? Do you think that Yahweh is pleased because you wanted Kamala Harris to be elected? Right? And if you are going to keep trying to run so that you can make sure that you join whatever coalition to make sure that in 4 years you can be divided again, do you think God's pleased with that? Or should you take the labor and the gifts that he's giving you and focus it in on your community so that we might be able to do something together rather than to keep telling each other, well, we should grow apart? Right? Ultimately, real talk, I care less about the elections than just about almost anything in life. I have to talk about it because it's something that everybody makes so big. But real talk, even in somebody who doesn't care, who's made it a point to tell you that, I don't really care about that. I don't really care about that. Even for somebody who that is my mindset concerning. Let us tell the truth. Let us be honest. Right? We're elected together. Right? Do you hear what I'm saying? I want to make this clear, right? We just been on the elect. I keep trying to come out the elect. Y'all, this he's doing what he's doing. Holy Ghost, she's moving how she's moving. Yahashua, he's covering how he's covering. Let's just do what we're supposed to do. How you doing, Minister Royal? Look, when it comes to the elect, my family who I love, my brother, my sister. When it comes to the elect, this is the elect of Yah. And we're elected together, not apart. What do I mean by this? In the world, all of their elections cause division. In the kingdom, those that are elect are supposed to be united. Salam. Right? Come on, stay encouraged. I see you. In the kingdom, all of the elect are supposed to be together. In the world, all the elect cause division. Right? The Democrats must be divided from the Republicans. There was a time the Republicans had to be divided, they divided from the Tea Party. And then out of the Tea Party, they had to be divided with Donald Trump. And everybody said that, hey, that division was going to cause everything to be bad and they wouldn't be able to last. And now Donald Trump's in again, and now everybody's saying, well, the Democrats lost so poorly that will anything come into power again? That's what they said back with Ronald Reagan. And then Ronald Reagan again, the second time Ronald Reagan ran, I think the Democrats had something crazy like less than not 10% or something. And then George Bush won. But then after Bush, guess who got in? Bill Clinton. But Bill Clinton only got in because he had Republican values, or so-called right-wing values. And at the end of the day, it's been about division, no matter who's gotten in there. George Bush was supposed to divide things and make the new Republicans, while he's an old man, the new Republicans be a certain way. Then Donald Trump brought you back to Ronald Reagan. And you know, white men didn't even really vote this time. If you look at the vote, white men didn't even vote like that. That means that they saw no need to even play the game. Now, a big possibility too, because they have power, so why would you worry about it? The persons who have power normally don't vote. Right? And all these persons who be telling you, yeah, we're going to go to the lines, and we're going to make sure our vote matters, and blah, blah. Look at how many of these persons who do that, who will make a whole bunch of money and have a whole bunch of power, have a whole bunch of land. Look at how many of them actually give you those I vote pins. They can go get one, but I'm talking about look at how many even posted. And then try to see if you saw any of them actually go and stand in line or be paparazzi seeing them when they were coming to go to the polls. The paparazzi don't really be coming out with a whole bunch of persons going to the polls, do they? Because what does the vote mean to somebody when you're in a certain tax bracket anyway? Right? So when we're talking about this stuff, the whole thing of the election, remember, even the Electoral College is there to make sure that even if the people have a different will than their masters, that the people, the nation, supposedly, will never be able to go outside of what their masters want. Like, that's what it is, right? If you actually look at the stuff, like, by law, right? We're not talking about stuff, if you look up lawfully, what we're talking about, and look up the history of it. Even history will tell you that the Electoral College was created specifically because what if these jokers disagree with what we want? Well, then we'll have an Electoral College to make sure that they actually vote for what we want. Which means that your vote is not what you think it is. Now, in anything, I'm not just focused on all the stuff you're doing with Kamala or all the stuff you're doing with this, doing with that person, whatever, right? That's not my focus. That's a lot of cats' focus. That's not my focus. What I'm saying to you guys specifically is that anything that you're voting in, especially, once again, this is supposedly your belief system. If your belief system is what you call, right, what you call the Bible, that's your belief system, then read your Bible, it'll bless you. You say that you're under a king. So what is your vote changing? Okay? You still doing the same. Like I said, if you play chess, going back to the same thing we talked about earlier, if you play chess, if you were black side or white side, the rules don't change. If you play chess and you change the person to a position in the pieces, no matter who's playing, the rules don't change. Right? If you put the stuff on the board, if you put those things on the board where they're supposed to go, they don't change no matter where you are, what you're going through, etc. So you have to recognize those things. You have to be in a position to honor those things. You have to be in a position to see what's going on. And a lot of us are not in position. Right? A lot of us are not in the proper position to be able to see those things. A lot of us don't care enough about each other to stop voting for somebody who's trying to tear each other apart. You said what was interesting, all the celebrities that were paid to support. Well, yeah, on both sides. And if you want to say they want to do it, that's fine. There's many Republicans, there's many Democrats on it. Right? There's many Republicans and Democrats that want Epstein's island. You know? Like, these games that you're playing, when you get to a certain level, you realize that don't even matter. Right? Who cares? Like, the person, you think that the person, look, do you think, and I'm not coming at you specifically, I'm just saying in general, so please forgive me if it came off like that. Do you all believe, do any of us really truly believe that when somebody went to Epstein Island, they were like, hey, give me the boy, give me the girl, right? That's a Democrat. I can't stand the millions of a Republican girl who's being forced against her will more than I can a Democratic girl or Democratic girl. Like you see what I'm saying? You see, like we had this. I'm sorry, it's not funny, but I want you to see how crazy the argument is. That's a wild place for us to be in, to where we think that these cats care like that, right? When somebody, look, as much as you don't want to hear this, and trigger warning, yo, when somebody is taking, hear me now, when somebody is putting our hair into furniture and using your skin as the, as the outside of the furniture, please forgive me, like the leather. You think they were sitting up there like, hey, if there's a slave that's got Republican values, I don't know. Also tell them through the women believe that they are angels and lights, just like their father. Yeah, they don't care. Like their minister names. They don't care about those things. You really think they care? They're worried about that? That's not their concern. We have it. It's this weird thing. You guys think that when the Republican gets voted in the office, he's gonna start saying, okay, all the Republicans that voted for me, including the poor ones and stuff like that, we're gonna make sure we turn this around. Some of them actually might mean that. Some. It's very rare. You think Democrat is like, oh, these poor, destitute black folk or whatever. Now's gonna be the time where we can really get them off food stamps and stuff like that, and we make sure that they actually are like challenged and we make sure. Watch this. Your pastor was voted in. When your pastor was voted in, he afraid to do anything different than what got him voted in. Supposedly. Until he gets there and he's been there enough, and now he ain't really got to do nothing except preach a sermon. Right? The system, that's what I'm saying. You're looking at the president only. The PTA board that was voted in. That woman that been part of the PTA board, she's still on the PTA board. Her children don't even go to school no more. You think she's worried about you or worried about some sick, weird version of power that you have? Right? Like that's what I'm trying to get across. A lot of the stuff you've been dealing with, you got caught in the open door. You fell for the open door, right? And you caught in a weird place where you're doing the same thing, expecting different results. And it would be foolish of us to not tell you that, like, yo, you should be looking for something else. They're not your savior. Right? Like the voting, you got to realize if you're elected, you got to ask yourself who was in charge. Because if you're elected, you have to be elected because of lawful reasoning, and somebody has to watch this. The government and persons within the government have to be the ones to say that you're qualified. Right? They have persons that say that, right? It's not just as simple as a count. Even after the count, somebody has to say, I allow that to happen. Right? And when these persons who come in, they come in the lobbyists. So guess what? The lobbyists. Who are the lobbyists? The lobbyists are persons who actually pay the money. I know y'all were like, man, Kamala got in. It was in a certain amount of hours. She had already used black women to raise $1 million. That shows what she want to do. Right? Kamala didn't get the $1 billion that she raised over time just because of persons all around. She got it from lobbyists. Lobbyists are persons who are working on behalf of corporations. And once that person gets in, just like Donald Trump, whomever your person is, once they get into office, guess who by law has to be present at all these laws that are going to be made? By law. When the Senate comes together, when Congress comes together, when the House of Representatives comes together, and they put laws together, every single one of them, guess what? By law, the lobbyists are going to be allowed to sit down at every single one of them. They can't make a decision without having some. They don't show this. Sometimes, maybe they have. I don't watch all the government shows and all the stuff like Scandal and House of Cards and all that stuff, things like that anymore. I kind of hung in with those for a hot second, but I couldn't really. But the lobbyist has to be there every single time. They have to be allowed by law. Sit right there. And if you say something and you try to create a law that goes outside of what the lobbyist wants for, I don't know, for Marlboro, for Newport, for Virginia Slim, for Lucky Strike, for Benson and Hedges, I don't remember all of them, right? For whatever, for Cools, you know, you're not gonna make a law about us without us being present. So y'all go, oh man, they finally had to put, man, that took the government. You see the government's blowing up because they put the smoker, you know, the whatever, the Surgeon General's warning on there about cigarettes called blah, blah, whatever, and now they can't just put them in commercials like that. Hey, check out these movies. Are they still smoking cigarettes in the movies? And are these companies still getting money for them smoking cigarettes in the movies? Oh no, they're not allowed to do that by law. Look how they do it. It's still the same thing. How you doing, Brother Thomas? You hear what I'm saying, below? Right, they're sitting there at the same time. They cannot make a law without their lobbyists there. Right? Vince McMahon, you know, was out here. I'm gonna just say it. Right, we're almost at the end anyway. Vince McMahon, for those of you who know that is, you know, the guy who's over WWE wrestling. A lot of you just think of wrestling as WWE only, right? Or it used to be WWF or WWF. You go far back enough. But Vince McMahon came into the White House with Donald Trump, right? Brought his whole family in there. His wife was actually on in the cabinet. She had ran for governor twice in their laws, but she was on the cabinet. Whole family in there smiling, taking a picture together, etc. Everybody's working together well. Everybody's doing these great things together well, right? Great family. Vince McMahon was also raping. I say it like that. Vince McMahon was also raping a woman over and over and over again with one of his subordinates over and over and over again. And was supposed to pay her off. If he had just paid her off, what they had agreed upon, she was like, okay, I guess I'll take it. And she did it because her parents were basically having a hard time financially. So she was like, all right, I'll do whatever. Hey, and it was some really sick, disgusting. I'm talking about some of y'all know this reference. I'm sorry that you even know it. And I'm sorry I even knew what it is. So like some 2 girls, 1 cup stuff. And if you don't know what that is, please don't look it up. I'm telling you. If you do, you've been warned. You can be obedient if you want. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please don't look it up. Even to read about it, it's disgusting. All right? So, but anyways, I won't repeat what that is again, but some of y'all got the reference point. Like doing some stuff like that to this girl. And she's like, well, I need money for my family. It is what it is. I'll take it. And then he didn't pay her. And then the reason why he's not on the board, and the reason why he had to sell all his shares and everything, and the reason why he's not connected anymore. And it had happened a couple times. He got in trouble the first time for it with her and multiple women. Right? And then ended up having to deal with the stuff again. Because he didn't pay her off right. Basically word came out about it. And then she was like, okay, you're not going to pay me the money that you're supposed to pay me again? All right. And now I'm going to put your stuff out there. Right? And so, the same Vince McMahon that was up there with Donald Trump with his wife, by the way, if you knew about it anyway before then, if you really paid attention, him and his wife never really lived together, like ever since they was really young. He got enough money, so he basically been letting her stay in the big, huge house, and he got his own little house he was basically keeping stuff in the family like you're supposed to, so even if we're not living together, he was like, okay, you shouldn't run for governor and stuff like that. We're going to try to get you set up like this so you can be doing the thing over here so that our name is still great. Right? Got his daughter and his son over doing stuff, even got his daughter doing stuff on the show, and wanted her to even pretend that he had got her pregnant. And she wouldn't do it. He thought that's something that should be presented, you know, like him calling us the N-word and doing all other types of stuff, and him saying that Booker T using Triple H's son-in-law to say that Booker T, for those who remember that storyline, that Booker T was a beady-eyed, nappy-headed person, and being a champion wasn't fit for somebody like him. And then, usually when they say stuff like that, as terrible as it is, at least y'all will go the way that it's supposed to work. Y'all go, oh, well, if they get that in storyline, if they go that crazy, 99.9% of the time, that's because the champion's going to be the black guy that they just went after. If they say something that crazy out their mouth, it's because they're going to try to, even though it's not justifiable, but they're going to try to justify it by saying, hey, look, we said all that to make sure he's playing the bad guy. But he said it's evil. We're using that to get more views or pay-per-view, and then you guys will be able to cheer when your man's killed. And then they flipped it and still let him say the racist stuff and let him keep the title, and then made your boy Booker T go out like he was nothing. Those of you who remember that story now, right? I used to be into wrestling, so it is what it is, right? But I'm just saying, you see all these different things, and you hear all these different things, and you be like, what in the world? And this guy was the person that everybody who was putting this stuff out in public, who was having basically butt-naked men out here, you know, tanned up and sweating and wet and all this stuff for y'all to be able to see in basically underwear and go-go boots. Right? Had y'all out here, you know, sitting up here watching in the 90s, watching women mud wrestling and oil wrestling into the early 2000s, you know, coming out in and stuff like that, wrestling against each other with literally, or well, not wrestling this time, but coming in front of everybody, taking off her shirt in front of her husband to show that she was not going to worry about her husband and that you should put, you know, women's rights and all this stuff. And so her husband would be asking the storyline, please don't show everybody your body. And then she takes off her clothes and got handprints on the stuff. That was the person that we thought. You know, that was the person we thought that everybody told us he was a genius, blah, blah. He was messing our minds up. Gave you The Rock, who never was supposed to really be black, was put in the nature of domination, which was supposed to act like. Y'all remember that? Some of y'all remember this. He was supposed to basically, if you don't know the storyline I'm talking about, he was supposed to be, The Rock was supposed to be this great person. He was a Polynesian dynamite, and they made him dress up like Shawn Michaels when he was a rocker, like a Martin Jannetty. He made him, in other words, dress up like white people. And people were falling for it. It was like, we don't like you. They try to tell the story now, like, oh, they hated him. No, they didn't like the fact that there was this guy who was playing Polynesian, but to them he was black because his father was a black wrestler. He is Polynesian and black. His father was a black wrestler, though. Right? I'm trying to tell you. So they changed the story to try and get you to not realize, but this stuff was never righteous. It was never elect. So what did they come up with? They say, okay, we're going to put him in a nation of domination, but The Rock doesn't want to be black. So he starts doing all this stuff where he'll do stuff that has black tendencies, but then he wants to kind of sound like Deion Sanders. He sounds almost like John Wayne, imitating Deion Sanders, but he's trying to act like Deion Sanders, because Deion Sanders would say stuff like, well, you know, Deion going to do this, Deion going to do that, and Deion, so he's like, The Rock says, and The Rock, blah, blah, that's where they got that from, right? And it was a white dude, JR, or is that his name, good old JR, whatever his name was, the Oklahoma cat, right? He was the one, the white dude from Oklahoma, who was like, act like Deion, because that's what black people do. That was the mindset. And so they played this stuff in front of you and acted like, oh, that's what black people do. And that's how they make money. And then The Rock made sure that once he got there, he never was black though. His father came out every once in a while. And really it was when he was failing. And people didn't want to see a black dude be a so-called babyface. Babyface means a good guy, if you will. So his father, right, wasn't getting them stuff that they thought he would. His father back in southern racist town, he got more love than he did in WWE. So that didn't work. So then they made him a bad guy, and they made him sound like black people talk, and then he never really became for a black, and still to this day, unless you like corner him on it, he ain't gonna talk about black issues. And the most he's gonna do for Polynesian issues, as Polynesian as he so-called is he gonna do Moana, right? Moana 2, Moana the live version of it, right? And then he'll make sure that him and Oprah come out there and say, hey, make sure that you raise money, you know, for these Hawaiian persons who we could just give money to, because, you know, this is my people. And if my people are suffering, then surely I would give my money to them. If my people are suffering, then surely I could just go to and pick 20, 30 buildings, right? I'm worth a billion, supposedly. I could go to 20, 30 buildings and just be like, hey, all the stuff that's due and the rent is passed and the stuff that they can't afford because they lost their jobs, I'm paying for it for the next 5 years, and I can go building, to do it. But I won't do it. That's the difference. See, so look, if you were to talk to a Hawaiian, some Hawaiians would say there's no difference between Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and a haole. A haole is what they would consider a white person to be, especially a white person that's a colonist. Just like some person said about Kamala during the elections and said that she's not black. What were they saying? They weren't saying that she ain't got no, because Indians and Africans, the same people. I know you want to hear them, right? So ultimately, no matter how far back you want to go, you still got to talk about blackness. If you talk, right? What we were saying was there was no culture of black, and she didn't care about us as a people, and she was using her so-called blackness to go ahead and get persons to vote, right? And not realize that she wasn't ever for us. We weren't saying that therefore, right now, what people try to do is manipulate that and say, well, if you didn't elect her, then it means you elected Trump. No, I didn't elect either one of them because I am the elect, and I'm elected by a king. If I'm elected by a king, I have no right to elect anybody else. Right, she didn't even marry inside the culture. You catch the difference? That's what they're trying to get us on, beloved. Don't fall for the okie doke. I'm gonna say it again, right? If I'm elect, it's because I've been elected by Yah. If I'm elected by Yah, right, then that means that I have no position and no right to elect anyone else. You see what I'm saying? I cannot elect anybody else because I am elect. I'm elected by the King of Kings. And as a sovereign king, I'm not allowed to step outside of sovereignty and elect somebody else. You can, but you must realize that that's you going outside of your sovereignty or your sovereign nature or your sovereign kingdom. So I'm not trying to elect anybody, because if I elect somebody, then it means I am no longer acting as elect, and I am no longer protected as the elect. You catch it? So many persons are trying to get you to be on this stuff, but if you say you're the elect of the Most High, then it means that you have a king. That means I don't elect anybody else. Right? This is why, watch this, I didn't elect my wife. Somebody says, but you could choose. Yeah, but I didn't elect her. She was already a wife, chosen by the Most High, elect as a wife because she qualified concerning the law. So I came to her as a wife to see if she would choose to be with me because she saw that I was elect as a husband. It was not two persons who elected each other. It were two persons who were already the elect who said, let us become one as the elect. That's why even though we are together, we still are under the same governance as the one who elected us in the first place. You catch it? Did you catch it? I'm already elect when I show up. If you recognize the elect in me and I recognize the elect in you, and something comes and we realize, wait a minute, we could work well together, and we decide to become elect together, submitted to the same mission, under submission, you were already elect. You were already a wife. Before I met you, you were already elect. You're already a husband. According to the kingdom, according to our culture, according to Israel, you must be this already. Because I am elect already, and you are elect already, then the resume that we're given is not a resume that you can be voted on or a resume that can be chosen. The resume that we're going over is the resume that comes from somebody elect. So if you're not elect, then I can't roll with you. This is what the Bible means by we should be married into each other. Right? A lot of us are thinking a whole bunch of other stuff. This is what it means to be equally yoked. Right? We're not the same, and you have gifts that I don't have, and I have gifts that you don't have, but we are both yoked by our election. And we're not equally yoked. It's not even saying, right, equally tied to the same thing, right? Equally tied to the same yoke. The yoke is the yoke. There's only one yoke. You missed it. There's only one yoke. You're talking about when you yoke this way and yoke that. No. How are you tied into the yoke? How is the yoke connected unto you? How is the yoke over your shoulders? We're tied into the same thing. We already have the same thing. So if we're equally yoked, it's saying we're on the same yoke. Equally yoked is a really poor way of saying you got to be connected and tied to the same thing. Equally yoked is a really poor way of saying that we must just simply be tied into the same thing, right? Because there's a such thing as a yoke for just one individual animal, and then there's a yoke for two animals to roll together. So you can be yoked by yourself, but you still got to have the yoke has to be created for that animal, right? I've talked about this a long time ago now, but we used to talk about this quite often. You can talk about a yoke. If I, as a human being, trying to put on the yoke for an ox, it can rip my skin off because the ox's hide is not as sensitive as my skin. Or maybe not even as sensitive as the wrong word, but hopefully you get what I'm saying, right? It can take more than mine. So when the Hashra says something like, you come to me because, my yoke is easy, right? I can handle what you can handle, and my burden is light. What's heavy for you is not even heavy for me anyways. But you can be yoked by yourself. Or there's another yoke created where you can be yoked to two. There's yokes that can be created by the way that you can be yoked to 3, 4, 5, right? There's, depending on what you're trying to get accomplished, there's different yokes, right? So you have to, first of all, be yoked to Yah. And if you're single, be yoked as being single. And get everything out of that and get your assignments done and carry what you need to carry and pull and press and mark the high call and all that, right? But if you're yoked to somebody else, right, be equally tied in. And remember, when you're yoked, right, even if you're both elect, we're elect to be part of the body. When we're so different parts of the body do different things. When we're yoked to each other, right, the normalcy, if you have a two yoke system going on, two animals that are tied to the same yoke, right, or connected to the same yoke even, what's going on is that with one animal, right, they're usually going to be older, wiser, but also because they're older, they don't have as much strength. They're still stronger than a human being because they're an ox, but they're not as strong as what they used to be. Then you'll have a younger ox. The younger ox is not as wise yet as the older one, but has the strength. Technically, both of them therefore have strengths that the other person cannot do, right? And both of them are listening to the commands. One might not know the commands as the other one does, and so might have to say, we need to get this done in this manner and teach them how to follow the command. But the other one, Ty, has to still do what? The other one has to sometimes give strength to get done what the other one can't give. That's why it's not just that it's more strength ultimately together, but it's that there's going to be things that one is strong in and the other's not, right? Very rarely is it that you get two ox that are great in everything. Now, if you have two ox that have the same weaknesses and same strength, and that's usually because you can't afford to have more than that. But what you want is to have two ox that are strong in different areas of life, right? So that they can be able to pull what the Most High has, or what the person who has the voice, the master, the teacher, even is saying unto the ox, so that they can get their work done and then be rewarded. So to be elect, you got to both be ox, you got to both be strong. But guess what? One has to bring something different to the table than the other. To be elect, yes, be a husband, be a wife, have two persons come together, but you don't need some things that your wife has that you don't normally have as a husband and your husband has that you normally don't have as a wife. There's lawful qualifications that cause you to be yoked, and therefore you are yoked as the elect. Two persons that are following what Yah says, therefore qualified for your election, and now you have a chance to, as two who have been qualified as election, to be qualified maritably for selection. Amen. We'll go ahead and leave it there. We didn't even get past verse 2. Talking about elect. Praise Yah. We'll be back in Enoch chapter 41 tomorrow. Thank y'all for being on so much. Appreciate love you guys. I'm actually going to rest and I'm trying to get enough energy together to make our next move and get ready to move right down the road, so to speak. So we'll figure out the rest of the day. So somebody is supposed to be getting a call from me in the car. I will try and contact you maybe like an hour or so at the most, probably not even that. But I need to lay down real quick, pray a little bit as well. We pray that you guys get something out of this message. We hope that something will help you. We hope that something will help you to realize what the elect and what the connection actually is. And if you're going to talk about the elect, then you have to make sure that you recognize like the elect is tied to what? Qualification, law, etc. Right? There's a culture, all these different things that are coming together. So prayerfully you all are doing well. We're thankful and grateful to have you all with us. We hope that you guys continue to do great, marvelous, and majestic things. Prayerfully you can get something out of this series so far. Honor you all. Be safe on your travels. Brothers who are going to be going where they're going, and sisters who are going to be going from where they're going from when we did the, when we had our meetup. Prayerfully you all will be safe. And thank you all for being on again. We appreciate, love you all. And we'll start with Enoch chapter 41 tomorrow after our early rise Bible study session. So hopefully you guys will be able to attend, and we'll see you all then. So thank you again. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life is able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, the website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist. Biologist, let it be. Love you all to life. You guys take care. Once again, praying for you safe travels. For those who are going back to where you're going, and anybody going anywhere, praying for safe travels. Sisters, North Carolina, Carolinas, please look up Sister Deja and check in on her. For me, if you get a chance to, if you need information for her, just let us know. But yeah, you guys take care. Have a great day. And know that you are loved. You are not necessary. You are majestic. You're fearful, wonderful made, and you, who is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be up. Shalom. Take care. We'll see you.